Barksdale Air Force Base closes dining hall due to pest control issue as photos of rodents are shared online.
I feel like Army or Marine Corps or even Navy would have just been like, just shoo the rats away. Don't tell anybody. We'll keep this under wraps.
Well, who knows? They might have actually tried doing that here. DFAC personnel have been trying to get their leadership to take action. They were finally closing the DFAC Friday, but have been serving food all week in spite of this. So, like you said, 2 FSS personnel were instructed by their leadership that they were not under any circumstances to reveal to base populace the rat problem with veiled threats of disciplinary action. There it is. Allegedly, the mission support group leadership is also aware and keeping it hushed, but airmen on meal card have been forced to eat there this whole time without being told of the health and sanitary risks. Base leadership is allegedly trying to keep this under wraps. Shocker!
You're telling me the Air Force has bad leadership too?
I can't believe it myself, man. Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of the Barracks Party podcast.
Hi.
Are you okay? You okay? Did you just try yelling in your microphone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just so you know, it clips your audio out.
It capped out.
So it just looks like you're just sitting there just fucking, I don't know, that like it just no sound was coming out. It just looked like you were just gonna yawn. Blakey Poo went out last night. He's a little bit hungover today. Got the fucking dads. You get the dads pretty hard this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the dads are?
No, I'm just gonna roll with it.
The day after drinking shits.
Oh yeah. I
never heard that term?
I could feel one probably brewing at some point.
Oh man,
I'll let you know if it gets bad. My
first ever quote unquote in-person regiment thing that I went to was, and I say in-person regiment thing because it was the before we actually get started, call to action. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our video, or like and subscribe, like the video, comment on it, subscribe to the channel, and then, we appreciate y'all for being here. So share it with your friends too, share it online. Anyway, so back to what I was saying.
Look at you announced call to action.
call to action. So the American Legion, before we partnered with them, we actually had a convention here in Milwaukee. Wow, Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. We had a convention here in Milwaukee. Regiment had a booth there with Paradox and stuff. So I was like, well, cool. There's a regiment event going on that I can actually attend. So I went. We went out the second night because it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. So I was there Friday morning. We did our thing. Saturday I went there. And Chris was there, Honoraj, the CEO of Regiment. He was there. A couple other people were there. He wanted to go out. I was like, you know what? I'll show you all the good spots in Milwaukee, places I think you'll like. Mm-hmm. First off, I started with places that I like, which I don't like the same kind of things that Chris does. So I'm more of like a chilled out kind of person. He's more of like, let's go to the club. And I was like, there are some big clubs here. Probably don't want to go to them though. And the reason why I say that is because Milwaukee is a very big college area, and he's younger. He's like 23, so that fits for him. Just not for me. So I did take him to some college bars, and he had a blast. I didn't drink that much because I had to drive back to Kenosha. I had to make sure that his ass got back to his hotel at the end of the night. We were also with a Purple Heart recipient. Mm-hmm. And he would just happen to come out. He was like he was in a fucking suit with a Purple Heart pen and shit. Hammered, bro. All of us, they were just all fucked up. And I was just on kind of babysitting duty to make sure that everybody was kind of like not doing the wrong thing. So we get back I drop him back off in his room. I go home. I didn't have very much to drink at all. I wake up the next morning hung the fuck over, dude. I was like, I didn't really drink. Why do I feel like shit right now? I might have gotten roofied, honestly, but I would have remembered. I would have forgotten that night.
I hate those when you're just like, man, I did good. I only had a couple. We're all right. And then you just wake up that next day and you're just like,
You feel like you went on a complete bender, right?
Yeah.
So like I woke up and I was like, oh, you know that dry feeling your face gets, and like the pit in your stomach that you know is not from being hungry, and you know, but it's like a pit in your stomach from being hungry, but you don't want to eat because it makes you want to throw up to think about it. That, and then you have to, you feel like you have to shit, which you actually do have to shit. So I drive all the way back up to Milwaukee, and this is like the last day of the convention, which we were doing the PC giveaway and stuff, and in the fucking press interviews, and I am just like, and then we were also breaking down the booths at the end of the day. So, and there was only like a few of us. My hungover ass ended up breaking down most of the booths by myself. And I kept walking off, and everyone's like, "Where's Brock?" And they're like, "I don't know. I'm in the bathroom throwing up and shitting." There's even a group photo that we all took with the American Legion, and I am absolutely hungover. There's even photos of me, like, because we had PC setups. I'm playing Call of Duty, and I'm like trying to look like I'm having a good time, which I'm not. I'm really
You're
not.
like, I want to go home.
I'm just like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm like ready for this shit to kind of be done, because they're like, "Hey, do you want to go see Kevin Hart tonight?" And I'm like, I want to die right now. No. No, I don't.
You're sitting there trying to put on a face. You're like, I'm having a great time, so happy to be here. On the inside, you're like, I want to go in my bed and just rot.
Yeah, I just
want to pull the blanket over my head and rot away.
I want to fucking Herkle-Durkle, bro. Like, that's all I want to do. I just want to lay around and Herkle-Durkle. I don't want to get up and do anything. Do you know what Herkle-Durkling is?
No, I don't.
Herkle-Durkling is a Scottish term for just laying in bed and rotting.
I like that. That was my morning. Got up, like I told you earlier, got up at 10:30, and I was like, all right, let's start this day. We're doing a podcast today. Let's, get some stuff done beforehand. I'm up for 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm like, fuck that. I'll just get up right before. Just right back to bed.
Yeah.
Feel a lot better now, but I still got that, like, stomach, like...
I'll never forget my first ever hangover was at the day after my 21st birthday. For some reason, when I was much, much younger, I would be able to drink a lot and be okay. For some reason. Yeah. I don't know why. It even blew my mom's and my family's minds away. They're like, you don't drink, but for some reason, when you do drink and you drink a lot, you don't even get drunk. You feel fine the next day. I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know what it is. I'm a god. So like when I went out on my
fucking machine,
my 21st birthday was my golden birthday too. So had to celebrate that one hard. So I drank everything that was given to me that night. Everything. And I remember exactly what ended it for me. So we literally went to 2 bars. That's as long as I could last. First bar we go to, I'm just getting drinks fed to me. We stop at McDonald's to get food, and immediately I'm like, I gotta puke. So I get out in the drive-thru, and I'm throwing up in the drive-thru, and everybody's like watching and making fun of me. I get back in, I eat my McDonald's. We go to the next bar. I see people from work. Like, happy birthday, Brock. Here's a shot. I'm like, oh, what is it? They're like, wild turkey. This is my first experience of wild turkey. I take the shot. And I'm just like, oh. And then a girl from work is like, let's dance. Happy birthday. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like dancing. And I thought she was very attractive. We kind of had a crush on her at the time. I'm dancing with her, and she's dancing. She's like, you having fun? And I'm like, I feel in my body that I'm going to throw up on her. And I'm like, I'm sitting there like focusing hard to not vomit right on her and on the dance floor. I'm like, yeah, I have to piss. I'll be right back. She's like, okay. And this part of the bar was upstairs. I'm going down the stairs, and I just fucking, I couldn't make it. I puked on the stairs. Get to the bathroom. There's someone in the stall. So there's a urinal in the stall, and then that's it. Somebody's in it. I throw up in the sink because I'm like, it's going somewhere. So I puke in the sink, and I turn the water on to try to get it going down the drain. Didn't work. And then I go into the actual stall when it opens up, puke in there, and then I sit down because I'm like, and then I'm just scrolling on my phone. What I didn't realize is how long I was doing this. I was missing for almost an hour, apparently, which seemed like 15 minutes to me. And someone walked in like, Brock, are you in here? I was like, yeah. We've been looking for you. I'm like, I've only been gone for like 5-10 minutes. Like, it's been an hour, dude. We couldn't find you. I'm like, what? So I went home. And then the next day was my first ever hangover. And I was, oh my God. I was so, I was like, I've never felt so much pain in my life. This sucks. Why doesn't it go away? Drink Gatorade. It helps me. I'm like, okay, drank Gatorade, immediately puked it. The only thing that helped it was a greasy fucking breakfast bacon burger with a chocolate shake and fries. And immediately I felt better. Immediately felt better.
That greasy food soaks it right up in the most perfect way.
It hits the spot.
I'm going to be honest.
It really does. It hits the spot, and you look at it, and you're like, there's no way I can eat this. And then once you start eating it, you can't stop eating it, and then it just feels better. It's like your body craves the grease and the fat and the nasty and the heart attack shit.
I was very happy whenever I walked out of my room right before we started, and my roommate sitting there, he's like, I got some Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets in here. You want them? I'm like, yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I do want some Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets. And what I had I had eggs with tater tots that I mashed up to make into hash browns. And I mixed the eggs with it with cheese. That was my breakfast this morning. Yeah, it was muy delicioso. Muy delicioso. But yeah.
Hold on one second. 1 2 1 2. Okay.
What's
I thought
wrong?
I was hearing reverb of myself.
No.
So I just wanted to make sure.
You're fine. I'm also glad that your camera works.
I am too. I wouldn't be surprised if something happens to it,
Midway. Yeah. We'll just roll with it though. We'll fucking roll with it. A lot of people messaged me in Discord about the opening clip of the last episode. Do you know what
I didn't.
You remember the story I told you?
I'm trying to. Oh, about the
butthole?
Yeah.
That was the opening clip. A summary of that story. Hey man.
What were your messages?
Just like there was like blacklisted. I just started this episode. What the fuck, man? I'm like, yeah, story time.
Coming in hot.
Hey man, what can I say? Like, it's a funny fucking story. I've got other funny stories too. Like, what is the most embarrassing thing that what is the most interesting what is the most embarrassing sex story that you have? And also this is for the viewers. If you want to share this, let us know in the comments your embarrassing sex story. Because I will tell you right now, the butthole one is not my most embarrassing sex story. I have another one.
Mine would probably be one everybody can relate to, but it's just ripping a nasty fart in the middle of it.
Was it during a blowjob?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't. I think it was probably like missionary or doggy or something. And I just was trying to hold back and it just creeped out. And I was like, oh, well.
Was it bad?
Just
though?
Dude's loud. Oh. It was like one of those ones where your ass cheeks are just like reverberating in the wind, dude. It was one of those. I was like, oh, she didn't say anything about it.
There was one time when I was going at it and I felt the pits of my stomach were about to open at any moment. And I don't mean fart. This was more than a fart. I was going to shit. I had to shit so bad. And as soon as it was over with, once the Sparky Big Time hit, I went to the bathroom and I just fucking emptied myself. Like, I'm talking full on diarrhea. Like,
dude.
And I was struggle busting. Have you ever tried? You know how hard it is to stay in performance while you have to take a gnarly shit?
I would imagine damn near impossible,
It's
especially
fucking
if it's like diarrhea and you're trying to focus on keeping that inside of you.
yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to not shit the bed literally. So I'm like I'm trying to fucking hold this in as much as I can, and then afterwards just
I wonder
let
if
it all
that's
out.
I wonder if that's where that term came from.
Shit the
Someone
bed.
just shit the bed during sex, and then it just turned into, did you shit the bed? Don't shit the bed, dude.
I'm like, don't shit. I'm like, hey man, I'm just trying to make sure you do your job and not shit the bed on this. That's you know what? I'm willing to bet that is where it came from. It has to be. Like,
Has to be.
shitting the bed on a performance. I shit the bed on that one. Yeah, you shit the bed during performance. It has to be something. It has to originate from someone shitting the bed during sex. You want to look this up?
I'm looking it up right now.
I want you to look it up
Weird.
and then send it to me. Yeah, I think that's where that came from. So one of my most embarrassing sex stories. So there was a time, a long time ago, where things were going, and she was on top, and I was feeling spicy, and I cocked my arm back to fucking smack her ass. I'm like full swing, and as soon as I release, she goes up, and I fucking full clip smack myself right in the balls, just like that. And I was like, oh, like that, dude. It was like my hand was like this. So when I fucking swung down, I fucking like when you have it cupped like that, it catches the air, and it was like pow right in my balls, and I was like, oh. Oh, dude. And I don't know if you have this problem, but if you get hit in the balls, do you feel like you have to fart or poop?
No, like I get like a pit in my stomach where I'm like, I might throw up, or like they're going to recede back into my body.
See, I get the same pit in my stomach, except it wants to come out the other end. So for me, when I hit my balls, it's like a shit cramp. I have to go poop now. And usually getting hit in the balls does induce pooping for me, not vomiting.
That's actually wild. I've never thrown up from being hit in the nuts.
Neither have I.
But that's just where... What the fuck? This is... I'm looking for the term. I saw something. There's a bunch of different
Are you finding
things.
Are you finding actual shitting on beds?
No, it's like, it's weird. Like one of them was like, it comes from when you die, you evacuate your bowels. So the term of that is shitting, like, in your deathbed. Which that makes more sense than just some like bro story of just like
that. You know what? Honestly, that's probably where it originated from, was me shitting. Like, did you shit the bed? Did you die and poop your poop everywhere? Like, like I honestly, I really think that is probably where it came from. And here's my Neanderthal ass talking about, like, it has to have been from when someone was having sex and pooped the bed during a performance. Like, no, it's like when someone dies and they evacuate everything.
But it's a lot more fun to think that someone just fucking shit while fucking.
It is less macabre to think of it like that. Yes. Let's go into our topics a little bit. So we do have a few topics. We actually have a couple, like an update to one of our topics. This is kind of like how last episode was, where we had an update on the conjoined twins. Well, this one we have an update on another topic we talked about from last week, but it's not that. So first on the agenda, Airforce. You know how we were always talking about Airforce DFACs are the absolute best all the time? Not anymore. So Barksdale Air Force Base closes dining hall due to pest control issue as photos of rodents are shared online. So they had a little bit of a rat infestation on their chow hall, which is very surprising. You expect this from the Army, Marines, or even the Navy. And we'll even share the Facebook of those photos.
It makes me happy that finally an Air Force chow hall had something bad happen.
I know, right? Usually the bad thing that happens is we ran out of steak and lobster. No surf and turf on Friday this week. Fucking bastards. This is the update to one of our topics. It's not a cool job, says the soldier arrested for smuggling immigrants as he was embarrassed by his Army career. And this is the guy that was smuggling immigrants in a government vehicle and led police on a high speed chase. Super cool, dude.
Join the army if you're going to be embarrassed by it. What the fuck?
Not even that. You're in the National Guard. You're not even in the real fucking army. You're embarrassed by your career. Why? Because you didn't actually have a real fucking career. I'm not like negating the National Guard's guardsmen and their time in the service. I understand because I myself was a guardsman for a few years, so I know that there are some units out there that are high speed as fuck. My guard unit, my second guard unit was, thankfully. I actually liked that one because we actually did our fucking jobs. We got to do cool shit. We did AC 130 shit, which was super cool. All of our training, all of our drill weekends were training exercises. So all of my drill weekends were 4-day weekends that we would just go hit it hard for 3 days, come back the third night, go out, and then leave the next day. So we actually got to do some pretty cool shit.
That's fun.
So in the gaming world, Take-Two is now on the list of companies in the gaming world that have had mass layoffs. So we're going to actually do a little bit of a deep dive on that, along with the quotes from the Take-Two CEO and the stats and stuff and their projected stats for what's going on for Take-Two, especially with Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out next year. The fact that they laid off 600 people is crazy. 2 months after they said that they were going to try to do some other cost-cutting strategies to avoid layoffs. They said after they had layoffs 2 months ago and said that they were not going to happen anymore. And they were doing everything they can to make sure that this wouldn't happen again. But what it really boils down to is the fact that the executives want to give themselves higher bonuses because the CEO of Take-Two saw like a $70 million bonus. Or something along those lines. I know. It's absolutely crazy. We'll dive into that. In the world of Ubisoft, though, or Ubisoft, or however you want to say it, so Ubisoft is shutting down and revoking the crew from people's Ubisoft Connects accounts. So this is going along with their whole model that you will own nothing and be happy. Because they've even said, the Ubisoft CEO said that he wants players to be comfortable not owning their games because he wants to do the subscription model. But the problem with that is that if you own a digital copy of the game, they can take it from you. And this is a case of that.
So stupid.
And then another Ubisoft. So if you have been following Star Wars, you know that Ubisoft is making a new Star Wars game called Outlaws. And basically it's set in the crime underworld of the Star Wars universe with Jabba the Hutt and all those other, criminal underground peoples from the Star Wars universe. And the pricing for this game is absolutely wild. It's a single player game with a battle pass, if that makes sense, because it doesn't, and DLC. And on top of that, they are paywalling story missions. Now, apparently Ubisoft is backtracking on this. I haven't been able to find an article talking about it. I just, through the grapevine, I've heard that Ubisoft is kind of backtracking on this whole idea of paywalling missions. But originally, this is the plan. Also, the game is not cheap, and we'll go over that in a minute.
They should backtrack on that because that's so fucking. And what the worst part about it too is they're going to release the game and it's barely going to work.
I guarantee it. Ubisoft is famous for that shit. And the other problem with that whole thing is, I firmly believe, because a lot of companies do this, is what they'll do is they'll come up with an idea, market that idea to gauge the response, and then backtrack because they were just like saying they're testing to see what we'll tolerate. And then if there's enough backlash, they'll backtrack on it. But if there's not, they'll just roll it out. So they're doing it to gauge the response is what they're really doing.
It sucks too, because then they actually release the game And they're like, we didn't do as good as we thought we were money-wise on this. This is like crazy. And it's like, yeah, because you were teasing everybody with terrible ideas and people lost interest and didn't want to follow the news of your game anymore.
Here's the big problem. And we even saw this with EA, because EA announced that they are not going to be doing the Dead Space 2 remake after, because the Dead Space 1 remake they did not meet their expectations on sales. Now, the problem with this is that they're what the fuck was that? Anyway, the problem with that is that they keep raising the bar of projections to, and if they don't meet that projection, they just cancel everything after that. Even though, like, it is a very successful, the game could sell way over, like, you know, they could make a decent amount of profit off of it. You know, they made their money back and more, and the game is fairly successful and very well received by the player base, but because it didn't meet the corporate expectations that they set for themselves, which is already unreasonably high, if it doesn't meet that, they just say it's a failure and then automatically cancel everything else after that because of that. So in their eyes, it's a failure because it didn't meet this milestone that they set that was almost unattainable. But yet the game was very successful. A lot of companies do this shit, failed to meet expectations. But yeah, you had an unreasonable expectation. Of course, it's not going to meet that. I wish that publishers would look at it and be like, well, it didn't meet our expectations, but it was still very successful, so we'll keep going with it. You know,
it's that greed, dude. It's that greed. Like, it's that whole keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Yeah.
Someone releases a great game, someone else comes up with an idea. They look at that great game success. They try to take some stuff from it, but they don't do it properly. And then they're like, well, what the fuck?
I know.
I guess we'll just never do anything again and like completely leave it in the dirt. And it's like, no, you still, with the whole thing too of like, the way games are released and can be added upon has changed due, like, from what it was 10, 15 years ago, where it was disc, right? Everything was a disc.
Everything.
And if you wanted something, you had to get a code, buy a code, you know. But that was all like stuff they had to work on before the game even released to make sure it was like ready for release later on down the road, like with Call of Duty and map packs and shit like that. But now we're at a point, it's not just a finalized disc. Everything's downloaded. So you can fix everything.
Yeah.
Actively. But no, people just want to be like, oh, well, we didn't make enough money off the rip like we wanted, so we're just going to not do anything to make the game better. Well, and it's like, well, no shit.
And on one hand, with the whole physical media going away, there's one thing that I can understand of why. And that one reason is that it is expensive to make physical copies of games.
Yeah.
And I do understand that, but at the same time, it's like, you know, people do want to have that physical media because it cannot be taken from them. Like, they'll always have it. And we saw this happen. I think it was one of the Call of Duty games. I want to say it was Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 released, and it was the last Call of Duty that they were doing physical copies of. And that physical copy was literally just like maybe a few megabytes. And it was a download code. It was like the only thing that was on there was the digital download access on the disc.
Wild.
So they made a physical disc of the game, but didn't put the game on the disc. They put the download launcher on that.
Yeah. That's something too, though. Like, I mean, I haven't bought a disc in ages. I don't even have, like, I got the newer Xbox right next to me, the smaller version of it. There's not even a place to put a disc. Like, I don't have anything I can put a disc into anymore. So, like, download's the only way it can go for me. But, like, something that other people love about having a physical copy is just collecting. Like, people just like to collect those things. So the nostalgia of having the disc. Like, yeah, you may not have to use the disc, but some people would just like to have it on a shelf and just be like, I have this copy. Like, it's cool. You know what I mean?
The only physical PS5 game I ever got was Last of Us Part 2. Was that a PS5? I don't remember. And I gave it away because I wasn't going to play it. But yeah, the collecting part of physical media is why people want the physical media. But we could dive more into that in a little bit. So Fallout show came out last week. Was it last week? Or 2 weeks ago?
Like 2 weeks ago.
And I gotta say, dude, awesome series. I loved it. In fact, it was so good that people are going back to Fallout games to play them and modding them because, you know, there's a lot of mods out there for Bethesda games, including Fallout, especially Fallout. And because of the resurgence of players going back to Fallout, Nexus Mods has crashed because everyone has been modding Fallout games, including my wife.
Kind of cool.
But yeah,
it's kind of cool.
It is cool. And hell, I started playing Fallout 4 again. I have not played Fallout 4 since it first came out.
I've never really played Fallout until like everyone started playing it again. So I downloaded New Vegas. I'm sure as you've seen, I've been playing it. I like it. I think it's great. I even went ahead and bought Fallout 3 and 4 while it was still on sale. It no longer is on sale on Steam anymore. It was like everything was 75% off.
Oh yeah, dude. I got Fallout 4 with all the DLCs for $9.
Yeah. I got all three. I got Fallout 3, 4, and New Vegas. I didn't get any of the DLCs because I was like, I'll play the base. I probably won't touch DLCs personally.
I'm glad you didn't buy Fallout 76 though.
Well, that's free, isn't it?
I don't know if it is, but I know that it was not. Fallout 76 is a bad taste in Fallout players' mouths, dude. It was not a good game. It was probably one of the first games that Bethesda put out that was like, what the fuck is going on here?
That was the only Fallout game I actually put some time into. And by time, I mean 4 to 5 hours. And then I just never touched it again. And I was like, I don't really care about Fallout. This doesn't interest me at all. Until, all this came out. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot.
You also played the wrong Fallout. I hate to say it to you.
Yeah.
Whenever
I learned that over the past couple weeks, I was like, oh, I played the bad one. Let me start with the one that everyone loves, which is New Vegas.
Do you know the whole concept behind Fallout 76? What their whole idea was?
No.
So, and here's like when Fallout 76 was actually one of the games. It was that and Anthem and Destiny 2. The flops of these games are why I started doing podcasting, because I noticed that nobody was talking about them in podcasts. But so Fallout 76 released 4 months after it was announced. And nobody knew that there was a Fallout game coming out. It was at E3 2017, I think, that they announced Fallout 76 was a thing. And I was like, oh shit, a new Fallout game. And they said it was coming out in 4 months. And I was like, they made a new Fallout game. They just announced it and they said it's coming out in 4 months. I said, that can't be good. And it wasn't. So the idea behind Fallout 76 was, so Fallout 76 and the Fallout timeline happens about 20 years after the bombs drop. And Fallout 76 or the Vault 76, I should say, is a control vault. So if you know any of the lore in Fallout, every vault is either an experiment or a control. So there's 120 something vaults in total. Vault 76 was a control vault that had no experiments. It was just supposed to be the first people to come out and recolonize America. And the idea was that the entire Fallout world would have no NPCs in it, and that the players would be the NPCs. So it would be like an organic world full of players. But that doesn't work because there was no quests. There was nothing to do. There was no NPCs to interact with. There was no story. It was just settlement building and trading. That was it. And and then people were like, it's boring. There's nothing here. Like, there's nothing here. It's just a wasteland with no NPCs.
I remember it being very boring, and I was just confused.
That too.
Because I was like, I don't, I like, for it being the first one that I really like was gonna like, okay, I'm gonna try this. Because I also had some friends that got it, and they were like, let's play together, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And I just couldn't understand it because I just didn't understand the lore. I didn't know what was going on, why anything was the way it was, and I'm just like, there's nothing here to explain it to me either. So I'm not
right.
gonna continue.
That was the problem with it. It was that like new Fallout players were very lost and didn't understand. I mean, the NPCs that did exist were obviously enemies, but they weren't like interactable with companions or vendors and stuff like that. Was the other thing. No vendors. Like the players were the vendors. So shit that they collected in the wasteland, they would sell it or trade it. That was the idea, to have like an in-game economy run by the players. Cool concept, bad execution. Yep. And because of it, and then they started putting shit in the store for people to buy with real money. For example, there was a because they have survival mechanics in that game. So like storing food was always a problem because your food would go bad. So their answer to that was to put a microtransaction for a refrigerator. To where, hey, if you want like more efficient food storage, pay $5 and you'll have a refrigerator for it. Shit like that, where the store, because they were saying, oh, the store will only have cosmetic stuff. Then they changed their minds on that and actually started putting in actual usable things in the store. And then on top of that, there was another controversy with like the Fallout 76 Deluxe Edition came with a power armor helmet, a Nuka-Cola rum bottle, and a Fallout duffel bag. The duffel bag. The duffel bag ended up being like this cheap fucking cheap ass bag. You know those Adidas backpacks with the string straps?
Yes.
It ended up being material like that. And it didn't look anything like they marketed. The
Deluxe gives. Sorry, I'm looking it up to like see it.
Yeah, and then let me look up the Nuka-Cola rum. So the Nuka-Cola rum bottle was also another one. Here, I'll pull it up right here. Let me also share so you can see. Nor.
Okay, I see it. I see the little. Oh, that's kind of cool though.
Except it really wasn't. Because this bottle was very small. The rum bottle that was inside of it was smaller than a Coke bottle. It was enough for one drink, essentially. And
that's frustrating.
And this was just a plastic housing that went around the real bottle.
Oh, so that's not the.
Here's what
dumb. Like, just make it the actual bottle.
Let's see. Here's the actual. This is what it looked like in comparison. So everyone looked at it like this big bottle. It actually wasn't. So it was like in dark rum and stuff, which was a cool idea, but it just ended up being like this cheap plastic fucking piece of shit with the real bottle inside. You couldn't even pour a drink with the housing over it. You had to take the real bottle out.
That's so dumb. God, I hate that. Like, I'm sure. No, I'm not. That's just a way to cut costs. They're just like, oh, let's just cheap it. Get the bottle.
That's
put
exactly
a cheap
what they
plastic
did.
thing around it. Look cool.
So
I was gonna try and defend them for a second.
So Fallout 76 ended up being like a really, really, really bad PR stunt. So, but yeah, Fallout has been going off the charts. My wife's been playing it. She's never played Fallout before this. Well, she did a little bit, but she quit because it freaked her out. The ghouls going after her a lot. She's like, they're scary. And I gotta say, I don't remember the ghouls being as gnarly as they are. But
dude, the ones I just did a mission in New Vegas where you had to go talk to like the ghoul leader trying to go to the other side or whatever. I still haven't finished the mission because I got to find the parts for it. But yeah, they're disgusting to look at. They're gross.
Yeah, they're irradiated people that mutated because of radiation. So their skin is like falling apart. They have no nose. They look like walking corpses.
Gross. Cool design though.
Cool design, yeah. Did you ever play Baldur's Gate 3?
Nah, I haven't.
So the fucking who's the guy that like gives you he basically can give you like these companions, but they're not real companions. They're basically like an additional party member for whatever class that you want. and they're just like resurrected dead people. And he looks like a ghoul. I can't remember his fucking name. Anyway, so back in the military news, there was an Army reservist who was frauding Gold Star family members, and he targeted mostly women and non-English speakers and those with little financial literacy. He ended up defrauding them of millions. So basically what he was doing, he was having these family members, these Gold Star family. For those that don't know, a Gold Star family member is a family member of a service member who was killed in combat or on a deployment. So he was basically stealing money from them, and he ended up stealing millions from them. And you have to
you say piece of shit?
And not only do you have to be a colossal piece of shit to fraud Gold Star family members, but the fact that he himself is a service member frauding Gold Star family members is like, you are fucking over your own with that. I'd expect shit like this to be like a VA civilian doing this, not a reservist or somebody that's in. It's just disgusting.
This is like one of those things, you know, like he better not, after he fucking goes to jail or whatever is going to happen to him, he better not later on in his life be like, oh yeah, I was fucking Army, dude. I was there.
People like no, that fucking will be. You know he will. He'll be like, yeah, I'm a vet. He'll never get his benefits, I would hope. But, you know, we'll dive more into it.
Yeah.
So Marines leaving the service must now notify the Corps at least 6 months prior to their departure, which you said this earlier is a weird thing to make an article about because that's already a thing. Like they ask you about 6 months and even the year and more leading up to your ETS date or when you're getting out, when your contract ends, if you plan on re-upping or not. Yeah. So it's like, it's very weird that like we have to like talk about that. Like, but we'll talk about it. And last but not least, so I don't know if you guys knew this, but rapper Shaggy is a Marine Corps vet. And not only that, but he is a Gulf War vet. We're actually going to talk about his service a little bit here, but Shaggy got his distinctive voice from making fun of his Marine Corps drill instructor.
It's so cool. I fucking love Shaggy.
Which is funny because it's like, what does drill instructor sound like? You know? But we'll talk about
sexy a little bit. Undercover.
Just say it wasn't. Just say it wasn't you. Yeah.
What if his drill instructor wasn't like a fast-paced person? It would just come out and just be like, "All right, recruits." You're just like, what the fuck? He's actually doing a 100% identical interpretation or fucking copy of his drill instructor's voice.
Well, because like Shaggy's voice, he kind of has like reggae. He does a little bit of reggae and shit. Jamaican. So I'm assuming his drill instructor was Jamaican or something. And yeah, we'll kind of dive into Shaggy's interesting Marine Corps career.
Before we start diving into it,
you have to go
I gotta go make dookie.
Yeah, the beer's
it's
coming
bad,
out.
dude.
All right, you go.
The bubble guts are hitting. I'll be right back.
What's up, guys? Regiment in this podcast is brought to you by G Fuel, the ultimate energy drink for gamers. G Fuel uses a special blend of vitamins, antioxidants, and other natural caffeine resources to keep you from having those jitters or even that crash that you normally would have from other energy drink brands. So whether you're having a long gaming session or you're just having a long day and need a pick-me-up, G Fuel definitely has you covered. G Fuel also has a wide array of flavors to choose from. But if you don't know what flavor you want to try, they also sell variety packs on their website, and they even come with a cool shaker. So head on over to gfuel.com and use promo code Regiment at checkout to get up to 30% off. That is Regiment, promo code Regiment down here at checkout to get up to 30% off. All right, we're back. Blake had a really good shit. I just wanted to point out, did you ever notice that like after a night of drinking, your shit looks like black tar heroin?
Mine doesn't.
Oh, maybe I should go to a doctor. But like there's been times where like after a night of like heavy drinking, my shit just looks wrong. It looks like something's wrong. Like, you know, my poops can get gnarly after a night of drinking.
Mine's just a lot because I eat a lot too whenever I'm having like a good night of drinking. I always like that good Waffle House stop at about 2 a.m. Get the
Oh,
All-Star
man.
special with a waffle.
I wish we had Waffle Houses around me. We don't. We really don't. It sucks. IHOP was our only option. And IHOP is
Waffle House
trash.
is the best.
Waffle House is the best, especially at night of drinking. Because you got people like there's like everybody there at that time of the night is there for one reason. They're drunk and they want fucking waffles.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that work there, they understand the assignment.
Yep. They're drunk too. Don't let them fool you.
They're on shit all the time. Anyway, so first topic of the day. Barksdale Air Force Base closes dining hall due to pest control issue as photos of rodents are shared online. I love this so much. I'm excited about this one because it does genuinely make me feel a little happy inside knowing that the fucking Air Force finally has issues with their chow hall. So Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana closed its sole dining hall as it deals with an ongoing pest issue and will remain unavailable to airmen until the issue is resolved, according to the base. I'm curious of what their answer for going to find chow is going to be. You know what? Because it is the Air Force, right? They're gonna give them like pay. They're gonna pay them.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna hook them up.
Oh yeah. They're gonna be like, here, here's some extra money so you can
go get something to eat.
Get some. Yeah.
Oh, fucking hate my life.
I feel like though, like it's a good thing that they did. I feel like Army or Marine Corps or even Navy would have just been like, just shoo the rats away. Don't tell anybody. We'll keep this under wraps. Keep the fucking chow hall open.
Well, who knows? They might have actually tried doing that here. So Red River Dining Facility at the base, which is located near Shreveport, was closed on April 12th as part of an ongoing efforts to address pest control issue, exacerbated by the recent heavy rains forcing pests to seek drier locations because it is Louisiana. The fucking air there is soup. Captain Hunter Reininger, the chief of public affairs in Barksdale's second bomb wing, said in an emailed statement. Base officials did not confirm the type of pests, but the closure came as photos reportedly of mice and rodents in the kitchen areas were circulating online. The popular Air Force AMN NCO SNCO Facebook page where airmen post insider information. Let's look at them. So this Facebook post says, so the inbox says Barksdale Air Force Base DFAC is infested with rats and has been for at least weeks, maybe months. Somehow they passed their public health and CE entomology inspections. DFAC personnel have been trying to get their leadership to take action. They were finally closing the DFAC Friday, but have been serving food all week in spite of this. So like you said, we're just going to hide it. So they were serving food today still, even serving food cooked there to the exercise personnel on the flight line. 2 FSS personnel were instructed by their leadership that they were not under any circumstances to reveal to base populace the rat problem with veiled threats of disciplinary action. There it is. Allegedly, the mission support group leadership is also aware and keeping it hushed, but airmen on meal card have been forced to eat there this whole time without being told of the health and sanitary risks. Base leadership is allegedly trying to keep this under wraps. Shocker! It says right here, effective today, April 9th, the Red River Dining Hall facility will be undergoing unanticipated but required maintenance actions and must be addressed immediately. DFAC food services will be reduced to 2 stations, typically 7 stations, which will include the main line and Simply to Go. The facility will continue to operate at this capacity until conclusion of the lunch period, 13:30 Friday, 12th of April, to support our airmen ongoing PV exercise. So during this, the following Barksdale food facilities still remain available, and there's the addresses to these. So here's a little bit of the problems. There's a mouse. Are you looking at? You can't see this, can you?
I got it up.
No, you got it up. Perfect. So there's a mouse running around like they're fucking Ratatouille up in this bitch. And there's another one scurrying off in the background. There's another one. You can see the mouse shit right next to that hose too. Then there's a mouse trap with mouse shit on, and there's mouse piss at the corner by the wheel. Another mouse. This is a big mouse. This got to be a rat. But yeah, that's super cool, right? And I love how the leadership is like going to punish people for actually calling this out. It's like, hey, we have a actual health and safety concern, and if you tell anybody, we'll fucking kill you. Not really, but they basically said that they'll punish you. You're going to be facing administrative action if you actually talk about this issue. Which is so like not Air Force of them.
No, it's not Air Force. Like you're telling me the Air Force has bad leadership too?
I can't believe it myself, man. If you would have told me that the Air Force has shitty leadership similar to the Army, Marine Corps, and Navy, I wouldn't have believed you until I read this. If I'm being honest,
our last hope is the Space Force.
The Space Force, but we'll see about that because they're a branch of the Air Force, kind of. So there was no timeline for the dining hall reopening, according to the base officials, but there are other areas at Barksdale, such as the base exchange, where the airmen can get food. You mean the fucking McDonald's and Charlie's subs and Popeyes and shit?
All the stuff people were eating anyway.
Yeah. Our civil engineer, entomology, public health, and force support teams are working diligently to address the issue, Renninger said. At this time, we don't have a solidified reopening date as the mitigation efforts are ongoing, and there will be a thorough joint inspection conducted by our teams to ensure the facility is safe to reopen. I don't believe you. And the reason why I don't believe you is because how willing this command was going to be to sweep this under and not disclose it. Try to keep it hush-hush and shit. How willing they were just trying to sweep that under the rug. I don't think that they're going to do what's necessary to ensure that it's safe. I don't think.
No, they don't care. They're just, I guarantee what's going to happen is they're going to be like, okay, cool, get rid of them. And they come in and do like a quick, like, okay, I don't see any routes, open it back up.
I almost wonder if this person did a branch switch, if the leadership is former Army or Marines and they just switched to the Air Force. Feels like
because it just seems like it's probably like something that was known was a problem and they were told to fix it and then they didn't fix it effectively. And now it's their ass if it gets out, which it's obviously gotten out, and they were told to fix it. They just never did it properly.
Yeah. Oh, so there's more to this. So Renninger added to the airmen who have meal deductions coming out of their paychecks will receive a prorated basic allowance for substances refunds, so they will be getting BAS. Look at that. How hard is that?
Good for them.
How hard is that, Army? How hard is that? How fucking hard is that? You see, we literally talk about chow hall issues and like how they just refuse to give BAS to people because of food shortages and chow hall shutting down. And the Air Force is like, yeah, we'll give that to you. We understand.
Yeah.
How fucking hard is that? No. I don't get it. Anyway.
And I really think that should be something like, when you get in and they're like, hey, at least for Marine Corps, it's like, hey, we're going to set up a Navy Fed account for you. Like, you have to get one. That should be like part of that process is like, by the way, are you going to want to eat at the chow hall? If not, we'll give you BAS or whatever. Now, the problem with that is because how easy it would be for people to just say no to get the BAS. That's the only reason why they won't do that is because people will abuse it. Well, I mean, for us, we couldn't even get in unless you had your chow card. Same with us. So we had like a chow hall card. Right. But I think, like, especially if you're a single soldier living in the bricks, like you shouldn't, like that shouldn't be an option for you to say no to, for the reason of people will abuse it and the chow hall will never get used for those that are using it. And like you'll have the issues of underfunding and stuff like that. So I feel like that's why that doesn't happen. But in cases like this where the chow hall gets shut down and there's no other option, that should be like, hey, we will pay you the BAS for this. It's not that fucking hard, and it can be temporary. So the situation at Barksdale comes amid heavy scrutiny into quality of life issues at military dorms, barracks, and dining facilities. Interesting.
Last year, a nearly 100-page report from the Government Accountability Office detailed substandard living conditions such as sewage issues that made the entire building smell of methane, gave tap water a brown tint, and resulted in insect infestations. Pests such as bedbugs and cockroaches were a common issue at 6 of the bases in that the GAO visited.
I'm just like realizing how disgusting everything is in the military. Just, and it's not like this happened at one place, huh?
No, this happens everywhere.
Yeah, but like I knew it, but I was okay with it because that was just how we lived. And then now just like reading it, and it's just like, yeah, no, fuck, that's disgusting. Like,
yeah,
people's businesses would be shut fucking down forever, and they would not be able to get a license again, dude, if they allowed this to happen.
Not only that, but like going to somebody's house and seeing that they have bed bugs, you're like, I will never go to that person's house again.
Yeah,
and you're forcing people to live in that.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine like being an OCD person living in the barracks, and there are bed bugs infesting everything, and you can't do shit about it because it's a barracks issue, and there's no matter how clean you try to be.
Yeah.
Oh, ew. So, amid widespread criticism and complaints, a former Army reservist created an app shortly after called that report called Hots and Cots to increase transparency, military.com reported. It allows service members to review their living situations and meals on base, and users can post pictures of the barracks and meals with a rating of 1 to 5 stars. The issues with barracks, cafeterias, and dorms have been known for decades to those in uniform. Military.com has also been diligently reporting on the issues. Most recently, Military.com reported that the Army is hoping to increase the number of food kiosks on bases, a small area where soldiers can grab snacks and food on the go, which, hey, outside traditional dining facilities. Now, what they did not say was that they're calling it food on the go as stuff for, to get outside of the traditional dining facility. But what the Army is actually doing is replacing the chow hall with those, which caused the food shortage.
And it's not even with good food. I mean, we've talked about it a couple times. We've talked
about it several times.
It's not even nutritious.
It's
nothing you can live off of.
No, it's not. And the funny thing I find about that is that like it even says in this article a number of food kiosks for grabbing snacks on the go, whereas the bases are actually using it to replace the chow hall.
Mm-hmm.
To curve the funding issue. Anyway, so in recent years, I already said that. And in recent years, the Army has opened 14 of them and aims to open an additional 13 within next year. But soldiers have raised complaints about the offerings, nutrition, and portion sizes. And once again, we've circled back to the issue of quality of food and portions of food, and the issue still remaining the same. The issue of being completely unchanged.
It sucks too that they're also looking at this as like, how do we save? How do we do how this? Maybe we take a portion of the defense budget, and instead of testing things that aren't broken and trying to make them better and reinvent the wheel with some of our weapons, maybe we take a back seat on that and adjust some funds to better living conditions and fucking edible food and sizable portions. It's crazy how if you don't have people to operate those weapons, it doesn't matter how much you fucking spend on those weapons, which is what's happening right now because nobody wants to join the military anymore. And they're like, maybe we should focus on living conditions. Yeah, move some of that fucking money around. We've got more money going into our military than any other country in the goddamn world. And I think we can do that.
And it ain't going to the fucking B's, and it ain't going to the DFAC. That's the reality of it. I don't get it. I really don't. I just find it funny that every fucking episode we find a topic related to those two issues. Mm-hmm. We just can't seem to get away from it because it's so prevalent.
It is, and it's crazy to me that it's taking as long as it has. But I will say this, like with it being brought up as much as it is, it's obviously changing. It's not changing in the greatest way, but it's changing. And I think we can do that. 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 And I think we can do that but it's changing and there's attempts. So they're learning, even though in the dumbest way possible, instead of just being like, hey, let me spend 5 seconds on Google and see what's worked in other places. Let's do that. Like you talked about with Air Force versus Army. But still, I guess they're trying. But fuck, I feel like I could go in there to some congressional hearing and be like, you want the solution? I'll give you the fucking solution. Let's crunch some fucking numbers on what it's going to take to repair all the barracks. Let's crunch some fucking numbers on what it's going to take to provide proportional food and well-cooked food and clean fucking places. And then move that fucking money away from building more bombs and shit that we're sending to foreign wars that we're not even fucking involved in. We do not have boots on ground. They do not need our bombs. Take the money from there. You fucking idiot.
And you know what's going to happen with that? They're just going to ignore you like they do everything else.
I know. They don't give a fuck. Unless I put in there and I'm like, by the way, this jingle, 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 jingle. There's a raise in here for everyone in Congress. Jingle, jangle, jingle, jangle. Then they'll be like, oh.
I tell you what, though.
Let's do that.
If you told them there was oil in the fucking barracks, they definitely fix that issue.
And they just take it away and say, here's a fucking tent. We need that oil, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. So an update on this guy. It's not a cool job. Soldier arrested for smuggling immigrants says he was embarrassed by his Army career, which was a part-time career anyway, buddy. Another soldier has been arrested for smuggling migrants. Another one?
Yeah, this is a new guy. I was going to say, this looks nothing like the last guy. Because the last guy, was...
Oh, this is a new one.
Hispanic.
This is a new one.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Another soldier has been arrested for smuggling migrants who crossed the U.S. border into Texas from Mexico on Saturday. Yeah, this was last week.
Mm-hmm.
On Saturday, Army Reserve, and it was another fucking reservist. Army Reserve Private First Class Brandon Broadhead was apprehended by Kinney County Sheriff's Department after he turned around before... No, this is the same one. Because he turned around. This is the same one. Broadhead was caught with 2 illegal immigrants from Mexico in his vehicle and claims that he was offered money from a cartel to transport them. During an interview, he shared his story in the hopes that it will prevent others from getting involved with these criminal organizations, according to Ali Bradley of News Nation. The 23-year-old part-time soldier says that he joined the Army Reserves to help pay for his tuition at Texas State University after struggling with his studies during COVID-19. I was like, I've always heard that the military or the Army will pay you for tuition, so I enlisted. And you squandered it, buddy. He claimed his father was born in Vietnam during the war and his grandmother's always encouraged him to join. I didn't even like telling people I served in the Army because of my job, he said. It's not infantry or whatever, one of the cool jobs. Broadhead revealed that his job in the Army was a shower and laundry specialist. You do know, listen, buddy, you do know that in the Army, you can pick your job. It's not like the Navy or the Marine Corps where they just put you where you scored well. You could pick your MOS before you ship. It's not like the Marines where typically it's given to you after, but you can, I don't know, how does it work in the Marine Corps?
You pick like a broad area that you want to go into, so that way they know what school you're going to be going to after boot camp. So the area that you're going to be working in. Like for infantry, for me, I knew I was going to be infantry going in, and then obviously I had to pass. Like I think I had to get like first class on my PFT, CFT, or second class or whatever was the minimum. Anyway, if you didn't do that, they moved you into another job if you couldn't do that. But I went to ITB, went through ITB, and halfway through, that's when I got to pick whether I wanted to be a rifleman, mortarman, machine gunner, or assaultman, which is gone now. Goodbye, assaultman. I'm sorry. But yeah, but that's also dictating on like slots. So you get there and they're like, okay, we only have so many machine gunner slots, so many mortarmen, so many assaultman slots. And once those get filled up, everybody else just is a rifleman. So.
But, well, yeah. So like, even with that, like there's a little bit of decision that you can make on your part, but the Army is like, before you even sign the papers, you pick your job. Mm-hmm. So this dude picked this job. I'm willing to bet that his recruiter told him like, hey, you can't you can't do that because it's full or some bullshit and like talked him into doing something you didn't want to do, which in that case, that's your fault, buddy. You could have just put your foot down and be a big boy and actually fucking pick the MOS that you wanted to pick. But I digress. So off the bat, it already sounds like you do showers in people's laundry, but my mindset was mainly for college, he said. When a friend connected him to a low-level cartel member who promised him $5,000 in cash if he smuggled migrants, $5,000. He did this for $5,000. If he smuggled migrants who had crossed the southern border into Texas, he took the opportunity to take the money for his school. He also said his mom was sick and unable to work, so he needed the money. And as instructed, Broadhead headed to Eagle Pass from Austin, picked up a woman and a man from Mexico. He made it to Kinney County, but turned around before a checkpoint, which alerted law enforcement. Yeah, don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Kinney County Sheriff's Department confirms his arrest with a photo of him being booked, but what specific charges he faces is still unclear at this time. It's interesting because, one, you join the reserves, right? Which is already like, you're not making shit in the reserves. You're not. You should have just gone full time, bro. And two, all these plans that you wanted to do are fucked forever. Good job. That your goal for joining in the first place is now going to be stripped from you for the rest of your life. You will never be able to go to school on the Army's dime ever.
Well, it's crazy too that he's like, he took the opportunity for $5,000 for money for school. So, but that's why you joined, dude. If you just go through the right places, you don't. I'm sorry, but you shouldn't have needed money for school. Like, if you would have just gone through the right programs, that is bought and paid for, bro.
Right, yeah.
Like, you should not need money for school. The government was paying for that. Now,
I don't know how it works for the reserves,
I can give a little sympathy, I guess, for my mom was sick, and that felt like the only way. Like, that sucks. That's really shitty that you have a sick mom. I'm sorry to hear that. But, dude, you're part-time, and you're telling me you're unable to work?
Yeah.
If you don't have a pre-existing condition, you can find a fucking job at a Taco Bell or something. They are hiring. You can find a way to make some money.
It's all about what people are willing to do and what they're not willing to do. And this guy was not willing to actually do the right thing to make money that he needed. Because he's a fucking moron. Like, it boils down to remember when I was talking about boy math and girl math? This is an example of boy math.
Yep.
Hey, if I just do this thing, it seems like it's easy and I can make a quick buck off of it, blah, blah, blah. But now, because now you got caught, you're now a fucking federally charged criminal.
Yeah.
And you just threw your life away.
It's funny, too. Like, he turned around and got himself caught. I'm willing to bet if he would have rolled up there and then been like, I need your ID, showed ID, and then also, flashed a little military ID, they probably would have been like, all right, whatever. Well, cool, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, he probably.
No, I mean, they might have still checked it and caught him. Unless they were in his back fucking seat.
His biggest problem was that he got involved with the cartel. Because if he would have fucked that up, the cartel isn't going to be cool about that.
No, not at all.
First off, they probably if they paid him up front, especially, they're going to want that back, even though it's only like $5,000. Or they probably were never going to pay him in the first place because it was only $5,000.
Yeah. They're like, fuck you. You already did it. Like, no. And then you go asking for money and they're like, I'm the fucking cartel, bro.
It's like, hey, you said you were going to pay me. It's like, or I could just take a chainsaw to you and just cut your fucking head off. How's that sound? And then set your family on fire. Does that sound cool? You know that sick mom you got? You just put her in danger by getting involved with us. We're the Sinaloa cartel, bitch. Anyway. Into the world of gaming. Now, this is going to be a girthy topic because it's been happening to every company in the industry, and it's a fucking problem. These layoffs, dude. These fucking layoffs, bro.
This is a big article.
It's a very big article, but it goes into a deep dive of the stats. So, a double take on Take-Two's layoffs this week in business for the gaming industry. How is the publisher's third cost-cutting plan in 14 months different from the first two, and why don't we talk more about mobile half of its business? So, Take-Two joined the parade of publishers with a round of triple-digit layoffs this week, announcing plans to cut a headcount of approximately 5%. Now, I've noticed that a lot of companies, when they do this, they give it a small percentage because it doesn't sound as bad as we just axed 600 jobs. You know, we cut 5% of our staff. Seems low, right? No, that was 600 people. 600 people without a job that had a job until a few days ago. It's awful, as all such layoffs are, and it reflects poorly on the management who did not run the business in a way that you wouldn't lead to hundreds of employees' lives being upended, such as layoffs do. That this belt tightening comes less than 3 weeks after Take-Two decided it could afford $460 million to acquire Borderlands developer Gearbox makes it look much worse. So they just spent $460 million acquiring Gearbox. And then and this is the thing that I noticed, and I've pointed this out a lot. Every time that there's an acquisition, a mass amount of layoffs happen right afterwards.
Yes.
It happened with Microsoft. It happened with Sony. It happened with this. It happens all the time. So looking at the layoffs all on their own, it's not difficult to see what Take-Two is thinking. On top of the general economic headwinds that even the most profitable companies in the industry have made using as a reason to cut staff, Take-Two specifically hasn't been profitable of late, only because they haven't been making anything lately. However, they're projected to make $6 to $7 billion after GTA 6 comes out.
That's fucking crazy, and I'm sure they will, because that is like the most anticipated game for years.
Yes. The company has reported 7 straight quarters of net losses, and its forecast says that it'll be an 8 in a row once it reports its earnings next month. Now, the thing is, which we'll probably get in the stats of this, the losses are marginal. They're like a couple hundred million in losses for a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, that ain't shit. That shouldn't be shit to them.
So why is it splurging for Gearbox now when it had a rough stretch and isn't expecting long-awaited Grand Theft Auto 6 to come out and save the day until next year at the earliest? That's the other question. The Gearbox acquisition looks opportunistic to me, a chance for a publisher to get a deal with a valued asset. Embracer's struggles have been well documented and could be kindly described as a motivated seller here. Gearbox is also uniquely valuable to Take-Two, which already had the publisher rights for Borderlands, but now owns the IP outright and has control of the franchise success going forward. That's the sort of deal I would expect Take-Two to pursue almost regardless of its current financial situation, because it can't expect to have a similarly beneficial array of factors in its favor whenever the company switches from red ink to black. Gearbox might not be up for sale in 2025 or 2026, and if it is, it would likely still cost more to acquire than right now. But acquiring Gearbox meant significantly adding Take-Two's overall headcount, which is something that publisher apparently doesn't have the appetite for. The number of employees working at Gearbox when the studio was acquired is 550. 580 of the full-time staff figure Take-Two reported in this last annual report, or approximately the number of employees Take-Two plans to lay off this year. So 5% of the full-time staff figure Take-Two reported is in the last annual report. So about this many people that they're laying off is that they got from Gearbox are who they're laying off. Both these numbers are outdated by now, especially considering where layoffs at Gearbox are a week after the deal was announced. Regardless, the number of people Take-Two agreed to bring in with the Gearbox deal and the number of people it plans to ship out by the end of this year are likely in the same ballpark. So, let's see. So it's a third of the cost reduction plan for Take-Two in the past 14 months, but for the first two, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick least imply the desire to limit layoffs the company embarked in cost-cutting efforts. So 2 months ago, he said this, and this is a quote: "We don't expect any kind of broad-based reduction in force. We're going department by department and trying to drive efficiently," Zelnick said in February of 2023. When the first cost reduction plan was announced, Take-Two would try to be very diligent about looking at the overhead. When Take-Two announced its second cost reduction plan 2 months ago, Zelnick similarly suggested the company could find a desired savings without mass layoffs. 2 months ago, they said that we could cut costs without losing people. And this is the quote. Remember, our cost profile isn't just about headcount. Our biggest line item expense is marketing, actually. So optimizing marketing would be a terrific way to make sure the company gets more efficient, as the company announced its second cost reduction plan, quote unquote. He also told IGN at the time that the company had no current plans for layoffs, but he didn't rule them out either. This doesn't mean the company was skipping layoffs entirely. There were cuts reported across private division, Firaxis, 31st Union, and Visual Concepts under those previous plans. So the company described private division as target. Yeah, let me try to find. So both of the previous cost-cutting programs were announced alongside earnings reports, which is why we have Zelnick's characterization of them on record. And the overall number of cuts wasn't large enough to have the publisher disclose the scope of them to federal regulators. In contrast, this week's plan was announced via SEC filing with no further attempt to provide context or spin the news in a less damaging fashion. In a quote, the plan is expected to be largely complete by December 31st and will reduce the company's workforce by 5%. In its SEC filing announcing the cost reduction plan this week, Take-Two was clear enough that this is going to hit a lot of people. Regardless of whether you take him for his word, Zelnick's statements around the first two cost reduction programs at the very least suggest a desire to reassure Take-Two's employees that the company didn't want to resort to layoffs. So from the depth, yeah, I call bullshit on that too. Either way, morale is going to take a hit. And Take-Two bids farewell to talent. Can't, But yeah, so, okay, so this is not a long article. This was actually just, let me see if I could find a different one that kind of, like, on the gaming side of this. This is, now the reason behind this. So I'm going to share my screen right here so you can see this too.
Okay.
So GTA 6 publishers Take-Two cancel games and lay off this. So this is the other part of it. They were canceling other games. So GTA 6 publisher Take-Two cancels games and lays off hundreds to rationalize their pipeline. 5% of the workforce is let go. So GTA 6 publishers Take-Two Interactive announced that they're rationalizing their pipeline and positioning, restructuring, and streamlining for growth by, you guessed it, laying off a load of people and canceling a bunch of games, as detailed in the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission filing. Take-Two are doing away with 5% of the approximately 11,000 people who work for them and have canceled several in-development projects worth tens of millions of dollars. The company estimates that incur approximately $160 million to $200 million in total charges in connection with the plan, Take-Two wrote in the filing, as passed on by Kotaku. The company expects $40 million to $60 million of the total charges to result in future cash expenditures. The total charge consists of approximately $120 million to $140 million related to title cancellations, approximately $25 million to $35 million associated with employee severance and employee-related costs, and approximately $15 million to $25 million related to office space reduction. As Kotaku note, Take-Two's CEO Strauss Zelnick told IGN less than a month ago he had no current plans to lay off employees. The publisher appears to be on the pink. They reported net bookings of $1.2 billion for the last quarter, 20% up from a year ago, with Zelnick personally garnering $40 million in total compensation as a CEO last year. Now, let's put this in context. So they expect to have costs around $160 million to $200 million in total charges connecting with their cost reduction plan. Mm-hmm. However, compared to last year, they are 20% more profitable. Mm-hmm. They just weren't as profitable as they wanted to be. And on top of that, $40 million. How much of that was actually, let's see. So you lost $120 to $140 million related to title cancellations, $25 to $35 million associated with employee severance. So right there is half of what your fucking bonus is. 25 to 35 million with severance and other employee related costs. Yet you gave yourself $40 million, sucking your own dick in the corner.
It's like, dude, you're sitting here talking about expenditures and how are we going to cut back and this, that, and the third. You're already making millions upon millions a year.
Right. And then you
maybe take that bonus out of your pocket and help the people that are producing shit that's keeping the flow of millions of dollars into your pocket. Maybe invest in those people, which is also investing in yourself.
And then
it's like, nah, I want the money now. I need a new yacht.
So the flip side of that also, so Nintendo years ago was not doing so hot. So the CEO took a pay cut because he could afford it, so he didn't have to let people go. And it worked. But you have publishers nowadays and these CEOs that don't want to do it. They will not do it. They would rather lose people and line their own pocket because they don't care. That's the ultimate thing. They don't care. And the other thing is Rockstar and other games under Take-Two, like 2K Sports and shit, they aren't pumping them out enough to really be profitable year by year. They like, again, they raise these profit margins over and over again. They set the bar so high that when they don't meet it, they're just like, oh, we failed. We need to cut costs. And it's like, okay, you're not putting your expenses in the right places then. You're not managing the money right if this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Yet,
and
you're paying yourself and your executives a lot of fucking money.
Yeah. And it sucks too, because it's like they set that bar and they're like, we have to reach this bar that I just made up, and this has to be here, right? But you've done so well. Yeah, you may not hit that bar, but you did do really well. You didn't do bad. You didn't do bad. You just set yourself a crazy expectation. It didn't hit, but you still did good.
Right.
Like, maybe just take a fucking win, dude, instead of like punishing people that are, again, producing wins for you. Right. And then you take that. That's like fucking winning the Super Bowl, right? And they fucking fire their quarterback. They're like, but you didn't get as many passes as we wanted. Yeah, we won, but we're going to fire you.
And the worst part is like, if you saw like with the whole profit margin, like they were estimated to make I think there was like the earnings call said that they were around 1.6 billion. And about 160 million of that was going to be towards expenses, which is not a lot in comparison at all.
No,
it's not a lot at all. And they could, and it's like, okay, so maybe like 3 to 5% of maybe if that of what you made is towards expenses, but you don't like that. You want it to be smaller. So you're going to cut everybody. I get it. Like if you're constantly doing that, it adds up. Right. So if you're constantly like saying, well, no, we can afford it. No, we can afford it. Blah, blah, blah. Yet you still fucking like, if you do that over and over again, yeah, like it's going to add up. But like I said before, you're raising the bar on yourself over and over again. So of course,
when your expenses are such a low percentage of your actual earnings, you can afford to be like, no, we can afford it. We can afford it because you absolutely can afford it because you're going to release more games. People are going to love. You're going to make millions of dollars off of these releases and shit. That's another thing too. Fucking, oh man, we have all these cool projects and we're not where we really want to be, where we see ourselves. So just cut those. It's like, or finish what you say you're going to do. Because I'm sure a lot of people are very excited to play that fucking game and we're going to fork over cash for it. And you just make more money. Like, what the fuck?
And then within a year, they're going to make that money back because of GTA 6. And the other thing is like those canceled projects that they just did, that could have made them money.
Yeah.
And they canceled the projects. This is like, okay, what if they were good? What if they were going to be profitable for you? And you just canceled them while they were in development. And you're going to ride on the coattails of fucking GTA 6 to save you. And that's like, if it doesn't get delayed again. So it doesn't make sense.
Probably will.
It probably will. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, next on the agenda here, The Crew, which is a racing game, is reportedly being revoked from Ubisoft Connect accounts.
Ubisoft is reportedly removing the crew from buyers' accounts following the server shutdown last month. So last year, it was announced that the open world racing title The Crew would be delisted from storefronts and its servers shut down in 2024, as developer Ubisoft claimed it was necessary to do so due to server infrastructure and licensing constraints. With The Crew being an online-only title, it meant that the game was completely unplayable when the servers were eventually shut down on March 31st. Now, here's the other thing I gotta say. I'm all for a live service game, but if your fucking live service game, not every game needs to be always online.
No.
This could have easily been something like Need for Speed, where you could just have an offline mode. This is why certain games should they should really look into doing an offline mode for certain games to keep the game available. Because then you have shit like this where you pay full price for a game and then the server shut down. Guess what? You can't play it anymore.
And that's with like that. I think that's something that keeps a lot of people away from getting games. Like, think about the whole people aren't pre-ordering games anymore, right? And that's obviously hurting all these publishers and developers and shit, because they're like, oh man, we can't have like an accurate guesstimate of what the fuck we're gonna make on this project. Well, people aren't fucking doing that because games aren't working. And then you release a live service and people are like, oh man, I really want to play this game, but I don't have the greatest internet, so I can't fucking play it because it's completely online and I can't fucking, it's dumb, or it's just stupid. It's so stupid. Like, I get the future is now. Like, fuck yeah, cool. But man, keep some of the shit that made gaming awesome, which is offline modes and being able to play with your friends on like a split screen and fucking be social with each other. Like, why the fuck does it have to be this online thing that's always getting updates and shit? It doesn't. Just release a good game and leave it.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that. People fucking love it.
But it's a thing that people that companies don't want to do. So it said servers were eventually shut down on March 31st. So now, just under 2 weeks after the shutdown, those who previously owned The Crew are accusing Ubisoft of stealing from them, as there have been several reports of players completely losing access to the game after it being revoked from their Ubisoft Connect's account. YouTuber Accursed Farms has been campaigning to stop the destruction of games for quite some time and has claimed on Twitter that they've been receiving several reports of people losing access to The Crew despite having paid for the title. Here's even the tweet. I'm getting reports that people are having The Crew revoked from people's accounts on Ubisoft Connect. I'm not sure that even matters since they made it inoperable anyway, but many in Europe seem to think that this is illegal. Maybe. Doesn't change our plans either way. Can only help. There are several people in the replies that have accused Farms tweet that replies to Accursed Farms tweet confirming those reports, providing screenshots of themselves trying to access The Crew, but being told that they no longer have access to this game. Right now, we can only verify that those who purchased the game via Ubisoft Connect are having The Crew revoked from them, but it's possible the same could be happening on other platforms. Why is this a big deal? You might think that this isn't a problem given The Crew's servers have been shut down and the game is literally unplayable right now. But it's not a good look for Ubisoft to be taking away the digital purchases of paying customers, especially when you throw the publisher's recent controversial statements about the game ownership in the mix. The whole players should be comfortable not owning their games. Many also point out that just because The Crew is no longer supported by Ubisoft servers, it doesn't mean that the game will stay dead forever. There are plenty of preservationists out there that work to keep online-only titles working long after their servers have shut down, evidenced by the surge of popularity of the Pretendo network, which has been working tirelessly to recreate Nintendo Network to try to keep games such as Super Smash Bros. And the first Splatoon running online. Good luck with that, because Nintendo is going to crush your nuts. I guarantee it. Nintendo does not like it when people try to save their games for some reason. Ubisoft taking The Crew away from buyers deprives them of the game's files, which they paid for, and also stops preservationists from archiving The Crew and potentially creating their own servers. It's also very concerning that publisher has the power to do this, as we slowly transition into the all-digital future that many preservationists are worried about. With Ubisoft pulling these kinds of stunts, you can see why. And yes, you can see why. Because you pay for something, you expect to have that thing always, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until somebody comes along and then you have a multi-billion-dollar company saying, we're taking that away from you now. And it's like, but I bought this. Like, yeah, but you don't actually own it. We do. You'll never own this. It's ours.
That's like that. Like, could you imagine with like, you know, I'm going to blow this out of proportion, but could you imagine you go get a loan for a house, you pay off that loan, right? So now it is yours. It should be yours. And then you got a company coming up and being like, hey, we want this back. We're taking it.
That does happen.
Get out.
That does happen.
After you pay off your loan and you own it. I mean, if you're making all your tax payments and everything like that afterwards, property tax.
I'll give you an example that happened here. Foxconn.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard about the whole Foxconn situation, but Foxconn is a company that makes LCD screens for phones, for TVs, computers, all that stuff. They're a tech company. They wanted to build a plant here in Wisconsin, not too far from me. What happened was, what the plan was, they were going to buy all of this farmland and run a pipeline from Lake Michigan because they said they needed all this water to run the plant. What they did was they went over to these people's houses. There was one family that was trying to stay firm as long as they could. They owned their homes outright. They built the house. It was theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And the state went in and took the house from them so that they could build on that property.
Did they at least pay them for it?
Yeah, but they didn't pay them as much as they were originally going to pay them when they were trying to buy them out.
Okay, that is fucked up.
So they offered them...
Because I was going to say, I know that happens a lot as far as like that, but I know you generally get paid for it.
You do,
but for them to just give you less.
They did pay them for it, but they basically went in there and said, here is our offer to buy this property from you. And when they said, no, we built this house. This is our property. We put a lot into this. We don't want to get rid of it. The state came in, got involved, and took that from them and then gave them less. Said, you should have taken our other offer. And then said that, like, either you take this offer, this offer, or we're just going to seize it.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, what they'll do is like they'll put a lien on your house. If the state wants that property, they'll take it from you.
I didn't know that. I didn't know they could go into that crazy of it.
It can get that crazy. Now they have to compensate you in some way legally.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much it's like, we'll take the land from you and we'll give you something, but it's going to be absolutely nothing compared to what we were offering in the first place.
That's fucked up.
I know. It makes me I feel violent inside when I hear about this shit, where it makes me feel like burning the fucking government to the ground. But we're not going to get into those kinds of conversations here because that's not what it's about.
No, we're not.
Let's take a break real quick. I got to piss and my dog is bothering the fuck out of me. Regiment in this podcast is also partnered with BR Paradox. BR Paradox is a company that specializes in custom-built PCs. So if you have an idea for a cool custom-built PC, they can definitely give you the hookup on that. But if you're not in the market for custom PCs, BR Paradox has a wide array of pre-built PCs that you could choose from at great prices. And if you're not in the market right now for a new PC, BR Paradox will definitely hook you up with an optimization. Optimizations take around 10-15 minutes to do, and they're very awesome, and I highly recommend them. I had my PC optimized by them, and it's never run smoother since. BR Paradox also has a list of renowned customers ranging from LeBron James, Chris Brown, members of FaZe Clan, and even Angela White from your favorite orange and black site, if you know what I mean. So head on over to brparadox.com to get yourself a PC today or an optimization. And remember to use promo code REGIMENT at checkout. That's promo code REGIMENT down here at checkout. Okay, we're back. So Ubisoft is once again in the news. So Ubisoft paywalling Star Wars Outlaws missions in 2024 is wild. Want to spend some time with Jabba the Hutt and the Star Wars Outlaws? It's going to cost you. This is 4 days ago. I think 2 days ago they actually backtracked this. But the fact was that they were doing it in the first place is why we're talking about it. So Star Wars Outlaws is attracting controversy for reasons both sensible and nonsensical. I have zero interest in hearing the complaints about how Ubisoft made a lead character K Vess less hot between the gameplay reveal last year and the story trailer last week. A subset of gamers are really trying hard to make Gamergate 2.0 happen right now, and it reeks of desperation. It's been 10 years since 2014, and most players aren't interested in Lego sequel to one of the stupidest chapters in the medium's history. So one of the controversies is that the main character just isn't hot anymore. Who gives a fuck? But
isn't she still though? Like
I don't know. I don't know.
I saw the fucking reveal thing, and I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. She's got like the 80s fucking
80s
hair going on, and I'm like, that's cool. That's hot.
80s,
like what?
The 80s Sarah Connor look going on.
Yeah.
So, but Ubisoft is a big corporation, and its desire to extract as much money from players as possible is much realer than supposed nefarious influence of diversity, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, which these games claim are really obsessed with making female characters slightly less conventionally attractive for some reason. Who gives a fuck? Video game corporations, like all corporations, want to make more money this fiscal year than they did the last. And the decisions Ubisoft has made around Star Wars Outlaws' business model reflects that. So, in this case, Ubisoft has locked a mission featuring Jabba the Hutt behind Star Wars Outlaws Season Pass. The game already costs $70 at launch, but will get Jabba the Hutt's Gambit mission, the only option currently available to shell out for the $110 Gold Edition or the $130 Ultimate Edition. Ubisoft is weaponizing nostalgia in an attempt to extract 40 or 60 more dollars out of its audience. Players were already angry when they saw the single-player game had a season pass to begin with, and that it required an online connection to install it, even from the disc. Adding an incomplete game that you need to pay significantly more to make whole is an insult on top of injury. And yes, that's the big thing about this. They are selling you they're basically saying $70 is not enough anymore. If you want to pay $70, you're going to get an incomplete game. You want everything? You want the whole game? Guess what? It's now $120.
Which is fucking insane. I don't know why or where they think that it holds this much value for a downloadable piece of content. Right? I can't shell out $130 for every video game that I
and most
that
people
I want.
Can't. Most people can't.
Most people can't even shell. I honestly, I have games come out and I'm like, I really want to play this, but I can't afford a $70 title right now.
Right.
I got to wait until payday to play it.
The $70 price point is fairly new. And now, even still now, publishers are saying $70 is still too cheap. They want to raise it again.
So stupid.
They want to raise it again. Blizzard actually put out a survey asking if players for Diablo 4 will be willing to spend $80 on DLC. Which is crazy. Because the game was $70. You want to pay another $80 for DLC? Like, would you be willing to pay this much money for this for this? So this is like their way of raising the price of games without raising the price of games, saying that here's some extra content we're going to give you for the $70 price less than what you would get if you spent this much money on the game, which is bullshit. And like there's even rumors that GTA 6, you froze.
I froze.
You froze.
Oh shit. Hold on.
You're not frozen now, but something happened.
That was weird. I wasn't frozen on my end.
No.
Are we good?
Yeah, you're good now. Okay. Anyway. Fuck, I lost my train of thought. So there's rumors that GTA 6 is going to be $100. Yeah.
I can't. I want to play GTA 6 so bad. But $100 fucking dollars.
And then
it's a week's worth of food.
I'll do one better than that. I think it was either the Rockstar CEO or Take-Two CEO proposed the option of charging players per hour to play the game.
Until you reach your cap or something? Like,
I don't know. Charging you per hour to play the game.
That's what I can't wrap my brain around the idea of that. because I can easily dump 6, 7, 8 hours into a video game without a fucking thought of it. And you're telling me I'd have to sit there and be like, okay, I can afford 1 hour today to be able to play it throughout the week, right?
You want me to pull that article up?
I do. I need to see this.
Hang on.
I get the whole like, man, we want to increase our profits from last year. Yeah, fucking everyone does. But there are so much better ways to go about increasing your profits than just charging people so much more money. Maybe make it more affordable and you'll sell more copies and in hand make more money.
You would think. Here, I'll send it to you right now. So this one, when was this from? This was November of 2013. Strauss Zelnick, so the Take-Two CEO, didn't say games should be priced per hour, but is he right about their value? Story's been doing the rounds that Strauss Zelnick, the CEO of GTA publisher Take-Two, thinks the game should be priced per hour. This comes from a quote, Take-Two's quarter two earnings call, when Goldman Sachs analyst asked Zelnick for his views on subscription pricing in the broader entertainment market. So here's the quote. In terms of pricing for any entertainment property, basically the algorithm is the value of the expected entertainment usage, which is to say the per hour value times the number of expected hours, plus the terminal value is perceived by the customer and ownership of the title is owned and subscribed to. And you'll see that bears in every kind of entertainment vehicle. By the standard, our frontline prices are still very, very low. This is when him saying $70 is too low. Because we offer many hours of engagement. The value of engagement is very high, so I think the industry as a whole offers a terrific price to value opportunity for consumers. That doesn't necessarily mean that the industry has pricing power or wants to have pricing power. However, there's a great deal of value offered. And look, our strategy here is to deliver much more value than we charge consumers. It's always been our strategy here. We want to make sure that the experience is first class, and the nature of the experience is not just quality of what we offer, it's also what you pay for. Everyone knows that anecdotally. So basically he's saying the game should be priced per hour, not charged per hour.
But that's still fucking stupid, because from what he said, it's like, okay, how many hours do we think players are going to get out of our game? All right. And then they'd probably throw into the math replayability, not just how long it takes to do a fucking campaign. Right. And then make up some crazy fucking number and be like, okay, this is what we think.
Right.
It's like, nah, dude. Like, no. I'm sorry, but like, if you're telling me if you're going to come out with a game and tell me it's going to cost $80 because by our projections, you're going to get this much time out of it, and we want to charge you this much for the hours that you're going to be playing our game. But then you give me a horrendous piece of shit and I only get 30 minutes out of the game because it's just that fucking bad. No, I didn't get the expected I didn't get that value that you told me I was going to get.
Right. And that's like, and that's why it's like you want to price the game per hour of content essentially. But because he doesn't think $70 is high enough, he thinks it should be more, and that's why there's rumors that GTA 6 is actually going to be like $100 to $120 to get, because they're going to do the price. They're going to do the price per hour. How much? What are you getting per hour out of this game, content wise? You're going to get a lot. You're going to spend a lot of time in it. It's going to be more than 70. Like you ever play a game that was so good, excuse me, that you were like, I got more than my money's worth out of that.
Yeah, Helldivers,
Baldur's Gate 3, where it's like, I got more than my money's worth out of this game.
New Vegas right now for me, yeah, it's very old and fucking came out 2010 is on super sale, but still I only spent $250. I'm getting like I feel like I stole that fucking thing.
Same with me with Fallout 4. Like I got that and all the DLC for $10, and that's easily like over $60 worth of content right there. So yeah, there's been plenty of times. So he's looking at it like he wants you to feel like that you got what your money's worth, not more than your money's worth, essentially. So there's that theory that GTA 6 is going to be fucking expensive. But back on the Star Wars thing. So it says all that sucks given the precarious nature of the games industry right now. It feels like Ubisoft is taking risks that probably won't be worth the reward. Instead of attempting to deliver a worthwhile finished product to the players who are already spending $10 more than they were 4 years ago, Ubisoft wants to nickel and dime them. Locking content sounds fairly important behind exorbitant fees. Which, yeah, that's the other thing, right? Mm-hmm. Hang on, I lost my train of thought, which happens a lot. Ubisoft has not had a good track record of releasing a good game.
No.
So there's that big risk that Star Wars is going to come out and be dog shit. And you paid hundreds of dollars for this, right? Mm-hmm. And they want to lock content behind paywalls and stuff and add a season pass. And the season pass is weird to me because it's a single player game that's a live service for some reason. Why? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the point of that? There's no point to it. Like, what are you getting out of the fucking battle pass with that? I don't know. Like
you're probably getting shit that doesn't hold any like in-game value other than looking cool.
Pretty much.
And then even then, most of the time, those kind of things disappoint. Like Fortnite, for example. Yeah, I get it. You get all the challenges. They give you things to do to unlock all that shit. But all the stuff is purely cosmetic that you get. And half the time you're kind of let down because you're like, this doesn't even look cool.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't even care about any of this shit.
Absolutely. I don't know what the Star Wars game is going to be like. I can only speculate, but given that Ubisoft's track record, I cannot imagine that it's going to be good. It's already going to get review bombed because the pricing model that they're going with and the season pass that they're going with. I'm willing to bet that it's going to either be a broken mess or it's going to be so void of content that it's going to be like, why did I pay this much money for it? But anyway.
I don't get excited about games getting released anymore.
Neither do I. And the only ones that I do get excited for are indie games. Gray Zone Warfare, which is basically, and nobody knows what the price of that's going to be, but Gray Zone Warfare is coming out in the next year or two, supposedly, and that looks like it'll be a fucking great game. And it's an indie developer. I mean, look at Ready or Not. That was a $40 game? Helldivers 2, $40 game. Baldur's Gate was, I think, that was either $60 or $70, but that one was, I understand that one. That one was
that
worth
one
it.
I get. I the only game I've felt myself get excited for is the new Hellblade game coming out next month, and I'm pretty sure they delayed release by like a year or two.
They did, I think.
But like it's finally coming out, and I've been, after how good the first one was, and seeing the little pieces of gameplay, it seems like they kept everything great about the first one and kept it in, you know? So I'm hoping that that's the case because I am very excited about that one. But that's the only game I've gotten excited about in a long time.
The one thing about Hellblade that stuck out to me was the audio design.
It's phenomenal. It's
really good.
Like the audio design just gives you pure emotion too with the way that they did it. It's phenomenal.
I liked it. Just the way everything sounded, like the combat sounds, the fucking voices, like, like, you know, like it's one of those games where everyone says wear decent headphones when playing this because it's wild. Because it was like when I first heard the whispering, I was like, what the fuck was that?
Oh, I did too.
I didn't realize that was in the game. It took me a second.
I didn't either.
Like I was just like, I thought my wife was down here, and it was the game. Anyway, Fallout time, kids. Fallout, by the way, the Fallout series, I highly recommend. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but it is probably the best video game adaptation that I've seen. I dare say it's better than Last of Us Part 2, or Last of Us. And the reason why
you're talking about the show.
The show, yes.
Make that clear, not the video game.
When I'm talking about the show, like I personally think that Fallout is a better game adaptation than the Last of Us show. And the reason why I say this is because The Last of Us has a really good story, right? All you have to do is basically translate that same story on screen. Fallout is a lot more challenging because it's a role play game where you can choose your own story. And as long as it's true to the universe that it's in or the world that it's in, it's tougher because you have to create a good story out of that. And they did. They created a really good original story out of that. It's probably one of the best Fallout stories in the entire Fallout series. And it's not even the game. So I thought the writing of it was pretty good. There's a few things that were weird, but overall, very, very well written, very well done, true to the games. It was a Fallout show. It was Fallout 100%. Like all the Easter eggs they did, the people that wrote and filmed and acted in this show knew their shit going into it. They did. You could see it. And it's nice to see a show adapt a game and not fuck it up. Halo. But yeah. And even Halo fans are like telling Paramount, look, it's not hard to go off the fucking source material. And even the thing is with Halo, it's like you could have easily made an awesome Halo show, but they decided to take their own way, and they never played the games. They purposely didn't play the games or read any of the books. They wanted to do their own adaptation of it. Don't fucking do that.
Yeah, if you're going off of something that already exists, don't reinvent the wheel here.
It's a good
Go
story.
off of what exists and just make it something people can watch.
Yes.
You don't need a totally new story. You don't watch these things for a totally new story. You don't. You watch them because you're like, it's in a different form of media now. This is really cool. Like, man, I want all the fan service. You can obviously have a little bit of a new like actual story, but I mean, like, don't ruin the environment that it's in.
Right. Where Fallout did that greatly. They created their own story, a whole new story, but it compounded off of the already established stories, because the Fallout show happens after Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is the latest, is like the most recent in the timeline, right? And the show happens like, actually no, it happens I think like 20 something years after New Vegas, and Fallout 4 happens not long after New Vegas, and the show happens after all of that. Not spoiling anything. I don't want to spoil it. You just watch it for yourself. But it is very, very, very faithful to the Fallout world. I mean, the only thing I had to say was like the cars, for one. The cars were kind of not very Fallout-y, because the cars in the Fallout game are extremely ridiculous. Granted, the cars in the show are also equally ridiculous, but they're not as like... Because the cars in the Fallout universe are nuclear cars. They're nuclear-powered cars, so they're basically driving on a nuclear reactor. Where the cars in the game, they look like a nuclear reactor. The cars in the show don't really look like that for the most part. But that's just a small little thing, in my opinion. Overall, the show was very, very good.
I can't wait to watch it.
And it just got renewed for season 2.
Did you text me that?
No, I just found out.
Someone did.
I found out today. Anyway, so on to Fallout news. Nexus mods crashed because everyone was modding Fallout. Nexus mods went down today, and it's all thanks to the show. So the success of the Fallout show on Prime Video has also led to an uptick in game sales, which means there's a huge demand for mods. Now it turns out that this demand was even more than Nexus mods could handle, as Fallout fans have downloaded so many mods at once that it's crashed the site. At the time of writing, you may not be able to access any of the pages on Nexus mods. Instead, you might find yourself taken to a page with a message from the site team pinning the outage's popularity of the Fallout TV series. We're experiencing much more traffic than usual due to the popularity of the Fallout TV series. We have deployed extra resources where possible, and we are monitoring the uptime and performances across the network. We have staff on call at all times to deal with any problems. I was just able to get back on the website after a refresh, but with the Fallout's popularity of all-time high, Nexus might run into some issues over the weekend. As we saw last weekend, Sunday was the biggest day for Fallout 4 and New Vegas modding on record. But this has since been beaten by the demand for mods on Friday of this week. So why did Fallout crash Nexus mods? With sales of Fallout games on the rise, it's not surprising to see usage of mods increase as well. Games made in Bethesda's engine always have huge modding communities, which, yes, that is an understatement. Either fix bugs in the base game or add new content altogether. Heck, I'm part of the problem as I've installed new mods for New Vegas, giving the game's facelift and adding some fan-made quests. Judging from last week's figures, it's Fallout 4 and New Vegas that are being played and modded the most. This also isn't surprising, as Fallout 4 is the most recent single-player game, so a likely starting point for new fans or anyone who wants a more modern RPG experience. On the other hand, New Vegas is there for anyone who wants something more old school or, well, slightly older school RPG mechanics. So yeah, Fallout is seeing, and it's funny because like the memes that I've been getting out of this, my wife, when I told her that the Fallout show was out, do you want to watch it? She's like, no, I'm not really interested. Then I started watching it, and she just got sucked into it.
That's a good show.
That's how you
Just
know
suck
it's good.
someone in that's like, I don't care about it, and they're like, I can't stop watching.
Right. That's how you know it's good, because like the Fallout, the show is this so good at capturing the audience, even those that aren't into Fallout. And this is a lot of people's new Fallout experience, was watching the show and had them think, there's a fuck ton of games about this. Let's play them. And even just the lore of the vaults, like what the experiments were in some of these vaults are fucking crazy. There's one vault, Vault 68. Vault 68 was a vault experiment where it had 1,000 women or 1,000 men and one woman. And Vault 69, nice, is the opposite. 1,000 women and one man. There's even a vault that was with a school, and they even kind of you'll hear about some of the vaults in the show. But there's one vault where the vault was attached to a school, and the experiment was to have an entire vault run by children. And what they did was they killed the parents and anybody over 18, and just had the kids take charge of everything.
That's wild.
And then once they turn 18, they killed them.
That is wild.
There's one vault where they were told that they had to vote for a sacrifice every year. Otherwise, they would all die or something would happen to all of them. And they did for like about 100 years. They did this until one day they just said they had enough of sacrificing people and decided not to. And the computer was like, congratulations. Like we knew that like humanity would prevail and stuff. Nothing happened to them.
So they just killed all those people
For no reason. Because they were told that if you don't, you either sacrifice one or all of you get it. And the one time they decided to not, it was like, congratulations, you won. Humanity prevailed. And I think at that point there was only one person left.
That's crazy.
There was even one where a vault where they had do you know the robot Mr. Handy, the floating sphere with all the eyes on it? They had an experiment where they had the overseer be that. And make the AI do the decision making for the vault.
That's wild.
There was even one.
I would love a book, like a Vault Stories book.
I'm sure there is one. There's even a vault where they purposely built the vault to where the seal was flawed so that it would slowly leak radiation into the vault, and scientists would see how the radiation affected people. And that's how you got super mutants.
That's interesting.
Super mutants are a byproduct of that vault.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts.
And
too.
Fallout 4, the experiment was to see long-term cryogenic sleep. So they told everybody, hey, you got a vault here for you. And what they were really doing was they were rounding everybody up, throwing them in a cryopod, and that was it. And the only people that were up and about in the vault were scientists to see how long-term cryosleep affects people.
It's crazy too to think that like in the game, it's just this company being like, we can provide you protection, and they just tell no one nothing until it happens, and then it's like this is how it is. And like it's crazy to think too, like the people in those situations are like, oh my God. They're either thinking we got a bad vault, or it's like, is this how it is in every single vault? Like, that's their world now. And they have no idea that some vaults, everyone's perfectly fine, living great.
And
other ones, it's worse.
Yeah, and then you have the several vaults that are control vaults where there is no experiment.
Yeah, they're just living.
And they're just living, and then the control vaults are supposed to be released not long after the bombs drop. Once the all clear is there, you're free to go. Control vault.
That's wild.
If you got one of those, you're lucky.
Yep.
So back into the military news, and this one is a frustrating one. Gold Star fraudster targeted women, non-English speakers, and those with little financial literacy. A lawyer told Task Purpose that the number of the families defrauded is expected to grow. So the numbers that they've got so far is just what they have so far, and they expect it to be more. So an Army reservist who bilked Gold Star families out of almost $10 million often targeted grieving mothers and wives with minimal financial literacy and who spoke little English, the lawyer representing the families told Task and Purpose. New Jersey Army reservist Kaz Craffey, also known as Cars Craffey. What? It's not too far from his actual name. All right, dumbass. Admitted this week to defrauding Gold Star families when he tricked them into putting $10 million into an investment scheme, lost $3.7 million of it on risky financial bets, and kept $1.4 million for himself, according to the Department of Justice. Craffey admitted to federal prosecutors on Tuesday that he targeted families who received large cash compensations after an on-duty death of soldiers and convinced them that the financial investments were approved by the Army. Now, for those that don't know, the average compensation for if you die during active service is $400,000. That's how much money you're worth. So like the compensation that your family gets upon your death is around $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe the victims, the majority being female dependents of the deceased service members, were targeted by Kaz Craffey, said Natalie Quam, a lawyer representing more than a dozen Gold Star families caught in Craffey's scams. It's horrific that he took advantage of their lowest, most vulnerable moments, knowing that they were naive regarding the financial fraud that he engaged in. It was easy to manipulate women who didn't have financial literacy, she said, adding that a lot of them, they couldn't even read the financial statements. One of the families Quan represented are undocumented immigrants, she said. The number of fraud cases connected to Craffey is expected to grow, Quam said, adding that some families who originally reached out didn't want to join the legal case for fears of retaliation if Craffey was found innocent in the criminal case, which, rest assured, he fucking won't be.
Mm-mm.
There are more than 24 instances of fraud attached to the DOJ case, she said. Quam also questioned if a single person could pull off the scheme by himself without other Army officials at least turning a blind eye. I think there's some blood in the hands of the Army, she said. Why was the base allowing him to use military vehicle? I can answer that right now. Because they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a specialist in the Army, I operated a Govee all the fucking time. All the time.
Mm-hmm.
There was even times where our school was in another country. Granted, it's like driving to another state in Europe. But they gave us a government vehicle to drive all of us. There would be like 4 or 5 of us at any given time. Getting a government vehicle is not exactly like, oh, shame on the Army for doing that. Like, it's everybody can get a fucking government vehicle as long as they have a license.
Yeah, not hard.
So that part's not hard. Why was the base? Okay, so why was the base promoting him? I wonder whether there was a kickback here. I mean, if you pass the board,
you just get promoted.
You just get promoted. Like, getting these two arguments right here are not really solidifying that the Army was involved in any way.
They probably just didn't fucking know. Not probably. They didn't know.
They probably didn't know.
I don't think the Army would have fucking let that go down. You know what I mean?
No.
If the Army don't know about that, they don't know about that, and they can't do nothing about it.
Right.
They're not going to let you steal from people.
Now, granted that 1% of the U.S. population serve, there's a percentage, like, the Army is not small. You know, the military itself is not small. They can't keep track of fucking everything. Anyway, so request comment sent to the Army's Criminal Investigation Division was not immediately returned. Department of Defense financial counselors are a critical resource, especially for our Gold Star families after the death. That's why Mr. Crafty's crimes are so shocking, said Mickey Sherrill. Someone from New Jersey. A DOD civilian, a reservist himself, had taken advantage of Gold Star families in New Jersey when he had been placed in a position of trust. While his families were grieving, he was misusing their funds. In one of her cases, Caffey took advantage of the family within 24 hours of the family grieving the loss of their loved one by telling them they didn't know how to take care of the money and it was safer in his possession. The fucking body wasn't even cold yet, and he was telling them to give him their money. They were telling people, oh, you can't be trusted with this money. You have to make sure it's financially protected before we give it to you, she said. It's unclear how much, if any, money the families will get back, Quam said. Quam is no stranger to representing military families in high-profile cases involving official wrongdoing. She represented the family of Vanessa Guillen, a soldier who was murdered in her unit's armory room in Fort Hood by a fellow soldier. Closing a loophole. Oh, there's a loophole. Quam said, spoke with reporters on Wednesday along with two U.S. lawmakers who are both military veterans, Representative Sherrill and Representative Don Bacon. Nice name. Worked to pass measures last year to close an accountability loophole in the military system of financial advisors that Crafty was able to exploit. The measure was added to the National Defense Authorization Act, which became law. After the case came to light, from reporting by the Washington Post, the two helped pass Protecting Our Service Members and Their Families from Predatory Financial Practices Act. The act requires the Department of Defense to develop a verification process for financial counselors' annual disclosures for greater accountability. So it's like, you have to be certified, but you also have to show us your bank statements. The bill itself is making sure that these people are vetted for no conflicts of interest, Sherrill said Wednesday. The legislation aims to prevent DOD financial advisors from self-dealing and making sure that the investments they are making will actually benefit families that they're serving. This certainly, I think, puts into place means for what should have been a routine check of backgrounds. And what are they doing now? Sherrill said, like any law, there are people that will try to evade it. We're hoping to put the means in place. Now, so it's fucking crazy that, like, why? I get why people are like this, because it's fucking greed. But I mean, dude, within 24 hours of the death notice, you're fucking telling someone like, hey, your money's safer with me. It's crazy. The lengths that people will go to do shit like this. You know?
He's taking advantage of the uniform too, because that obviously instills a lot of trust automatically.
Yeah, it does. It's like, oh, you're a service member. I trust you. You have my best interest at heart because you can relate.
Yeah,
and using that to like take advantage, because people will look at you in a different light than if you were just an average like accountant. You know. It sucks. And it sucks to even know that like the families might not really get anything back out of this. So they're kind of fucked. I mean, I would hope, I know the government, but I would hope they get something. I don't know.
They might.
I mean, they might, depending on where this lawsuit or I think what will happen, if anything, would be a lawsuit. It would go beyond the, but not so much the criminal charges is what they'll get the money out of, but it'll be probably a lawsuit against the federal government for not making sure that this was secured.
Well, it looks like in the I mean, he was found guilty. Looks like in the guilty plea they did something with him paying back.
Did they?
It says it in the guilty plea right there.
Well, okay, so the guilty plea where he has to pay it all back, like, how's he going to pay back all that money?
I mean, he's probably spent it all. I guess, he's taken all that money. He bought things with it. He bought things that he can sell and get
his assets,
as much as he can back.
Seize the assets. Probably, probably be the only real course of action that could be taken with that. Yeah, I fucking hate seeing shit like that, if I'm being completely honest, because it's just like, there's nothing you can really do.
and it sucks seeing that somebody in uniform was the one that was doing it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you curb that? And who knows how many other people have done the same thing?
A lot. I mean, we covered, I think it was like the first time y'all had me on here, we went over almost the same exact case.
With a different person, yeah. How many people are doing this? It's got to be a lot. It has to be a lot. Because this isn't the first time we've talked about it. It's just a different person each time. I don't know.
Fucking disgusting.
I'm sure it won't be the last time we hear about something like this. Anyway, moving on to something funny.
Which, by the way, his guilty plea, he's going to prison for 20 years and he's being fined up to $5 million, according to the Department of Justice.
Good. Fuck him.
He was found guilty.
I wonder if he's going to go to Leavenworth. Probably not. I don't know. Anyway, Marines leaving service must now give a 6-month notice before their departure. So Marines who plan to depart the Corps, not my Corps, must now notify the service of their intent to exit no later than 6 months ahead of their planned departure date. Now, what happens if they're after the 6 month?
Nothing.
Exactly.
It's the same. And it won't get past that point, though, because all it is your commander being like, what are you doing? I'm getting out. Okay, we'll submit a packet in case you change your mind. Okay. And then fucking that's it.
That's pretty much it. Like the retention is pretty much on top of that shit well before 6 months. So previously Marines could resign or retire with as little as 4 months of advance notification. The update released last Friday went into immediate effect for the service. Of course I have to pay for this fucking website. Son of a bitch. Okay, we're back now that I got this fucking account set up. God, that was so stupid. So where did I leave off? So the previous timeline of resignation notification, 4 to 14 months, didn't give Marines adequate time to prepare for their transitions. Marine Corps spokeswoman Captain Sarah Eason said in an email to military.com. The update to retirement resignation request was made to set transitioning Marines up for success as they embark on their next stages of life. Totally. I mean, you could relate, right? They totally set you up for the next stages of life. No, they don't.
Oh, man. It did so much for me. It was awesome.
Additionally, Marines' request for resignation and retirement now may not be submitted before 18 months from the requested departure date. That's up from the previous limit of 14 months. So you can submit it earlier. One of the elements of talent management's predictability is to facilitate it for assignments and related actions, the service update message said. Talent management? What is this, like a fucking... Is this Dancing with the Stars or some shit? Talent management. It's like talent management? Well, like you trying to get a fucking role in a show? Like, what is this?
Damn right I am.
Like, being in the military is part of a talent agency, I guess. As part of the Marine Corps' broader force design moderation plan, which includes efforts to better manage retention of Marines. Guess what? It's not working. The Marine Corps loses around 75% of its first-term Marines annually. Damn. Damn, dude.
The Marine Corps has the worst retention rate.
That is a gnarly retention. 75% of your fucking force doesn't re-up?
I maybe had 5 buddies stay in. Everybody else.
You got to think that someone's got to look back at the drawing board with this shit, but they don't. They absolutely don't. So Eason added the new message is being released in the interim guidance while the separations retirement manual undergoes a more comprehensive update, which is set to release later this year. The Marine Corps has generated a slew of retention programs related to talent management, such as allowing Marines to reenlist early in hopes of keeping more Marines beyond their initial 4-year contracts. Hey, how can we get retention fixed? I don't know. Let them reenlist sooner. Hey, everything.
Let them reenlist sooner while they still have hope that it'll get better.
Yeah,
that's what that is. That's exactly what that is.
That is exactly. And then have them do a fucking indefinite reenlistment for like here, while you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed right out of fucking boot camp, and you just got to the fleet, you want to re-up for another 6 years? Like, yeah, dude, 6 years on top of the 3 or 4 you're doing. That's fucking crazy.
One thing that is nice, I don't know if the Army can do this, I'm sure it is, but extending instead of completely re-enlisting for 4,
It's very
you have the
situation-
option to be
it's-
like, let me just extend another year to make this last, this last deployment instead of staying back and, I'll be here. What is it? Like 3 months into that deployment, they're like, let me just go. I'll extend another 6 months to a year and then get out after this deployment. Like a lot of people do that.
It's very situationally dependent, honestly. I think right now, probably. I know in the National Guard, you definitely can. You could do like a 1-year extension and then make a decision after that, and then do another year extension and shit, and just keep doing that. But I don't know about active duty, so I really can't say for sure. So efforts may be paying off. In fiscal 2023, the service exceeded its first term retention goal by roughly 850 Marines. Wow, that's so many, according to the Marine Corps Times. We exceeded our first term retention goal because we kept 850 more Marines than we normally do. Out of the
not a lot.
It's not a lot at all, dude. That's like a couple. That's like a company's worth, maybe.
Dude, when we would have those little like classes or whatever where they'd bring in the fucking battalion into like the theater and shit, and someone would go up and talk about retention and why staying in is great and these things that the Marine Corps is now offering. We can get you to any base you want to go to. Bullshit, by the way, never believe that.
No, it's a lie, 100% of the time.
But they would always start the little class with, all right, who's staying in? And you'd look around, and I shit you not, out of the hundreds of people, you were lucky to see 10, 15 hands get raised.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, same with the Army though too. We had people getting out as E7s. They were not because at E7 it's like you do an indefinite reenlistment where you're doing your 20, but you had E7s getting out. Like they had fucking 13, 14, 15 years in the Army. They were a few away from retirement. Instead of just retiring, they just left. And it sucked for me because when I was in Italy, I wanted out of the fucking unit I was in because things were taking a turn for the worse there. And I was hoping, because what I was seeing was that they had, if you had 1 year or more left on your contract, you could PCS to another duty station. And I was thinking I was going to be able to go to Bragg. I was like, well, you only do 2 years at it was like 2 years at this unit, and then they PCS you, or you could choose to stay. I said I didn't want to stay. I wanted to go to Bragg, but because I was 1 month short of 12, they said, nope,
They didn't let you.
that you can't go to Bragg. You have to stay here for an additional year. So I was in Italy for 3 of the 4 years I was in at that unit. I had to spend another year. It did suck because I was hoping to go to Bragg because I thought maybe if I go to Bragg, I might change. Let me try another unit and maybe I'll change my mind about staying in. And they said, well, you're it wasn't even a full month. It was 2 weeks because I was 2 weeks shy of a year left on my contract. I had to stay in Italy the whole time.
That's dumb.
I know. I mean, being in Italy is dumb.
When it comes to re-upping in the Army, is it like you just say that you want to re-enlist and you re-enlist, or do you have to be like vetted to be able to stay in?
So if you have flags, like you fail PT, you fail height and weight, you become barred from re-enlisting. And that is if you want to re-enlist. So it's like if you want to, you get flagged. So you gotta lose the flag. So you gotta pass your PT, all that shit. So then you get barred from re-enlistment if you have a flag. Once you get the flag removed, and if you want to re-enlist, you can. But usually they ask you like a year out and stuff. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing it unless it was sequestration, which happened in 2012 when they were downsizing. At that point, they were just cutting people off before their term was done.
Okay. Because I was wondering, because I was told like that was like one of the big things of when I was getting in. They're like, oh, the Marines are different. You got to be invited to stay in and everything like that. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh, but it's the same thing. It's like you go in and put in a packet and they're like, you pass PT. Okay. And you're able to promote. Like you obviously have never really done anything wrong. Yeah, you can stay.
In order to be told no, you can't re-enlist, you have to be kind of a shitbag, honestly.
Yeah.
So the longer lead time required for Marines will keep them in service a little longer to help those on manpower side of the house project staffing allocations and shortfalls, and could also boost attendance rates for the service transitions readiness seminar. All about boosting attendance, I guess. The required course that prepares Marines exiting the service for post-military life. A government watchdog report released last year found that at least 70% of the 200,000 service members who leave the military every year weren't completing the mandatory transition course at least 12 months before their expected departure date. The Defense Department normally requires troops to complete their transition training a full year before separating to allow ample time for the end of service administrative requirements and to prepare for the job search. Now, I will tell you right now, I'm willing to bet 90% of that not happening is because of the unit. The unit isn't letting you.
It's exactly how it was. Like for my roommate, he didn't get done with his stuff to transition out until like 2 weeks before he got his DD-214.
Right.
Because they kept making him go on field ops and shit. And they're like, no, you can just do it when you get back. Because, you know, you're being told by dudes who have never gotten out that don't understand that process because they've never dealt with it. In their heads, it takes 5 fucking minutes to go do something. When in all reality, you have to drive around the base for hours and days to get the proper signatures and shit.
Yeah.
Because, like, you got to check out with people you never talked to. You finally find the building. Well, they're on lunch or they're on fucking leave and you can't get the proper signature or whatever. So you got to wait even longer.
And you're not
and
the
then
only
you got to go to
person
these
going
courses.
through it. You're not the only person going through that process. So there's hundreds of, if not thousands of people going through the same process as you. So these appointments are very spread out over the course of months. And it's like that because you have to do these classes. You have to do these seminars. You have to X, Y, and Z. You got to sign paperwork. You have to clear the clinic. You have to close your jump log if you're airborne. You got to do this. You got to clear CIF with turning in your gear. All these other things that require a lot of time to do. And if you're medically separating, you have appointments to get evaluated. If you want to talk to a VA rep to get your disability evaluations, you have to do that. All these other fucking steps that takes a long time to do. And the units are the reason why a lot of people aren't doing them in the time that they're supposed to be doing them, because they'll fucking keep you as long as they possibly can. And then at the very last minute, let you do this shit.
Yeah. Dude, I remember I fucking, you got to go check out with, what is it? The NPs and shit. So you got to go up to their building and get a signature from them.
Yeah.
I went to go do that. And I go back into the office and everything. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. You know, give me your information. They're typing it in the computer. And they're like, when did you get to Lejeune? And I was like, 4 fucking years ago. Why? And they're like, you're not in our system. And I was like, I don't know, dude. I got here and I followed some fucking sergeant around as a little booty boot with my fucking bald ass head. And
he forgot that office.
Yeah, they just didn't take me there. And the lady was just like, okay. And then just signed it. And she was like, makes my job fucking easier. Have a good one. I was like, cool, sweet, bye.
Yeah. They want you to do that to make sure that you don't have like a warrant or something stupid. That's why they make you clear the MPs and shit. But yeah, I had to do the same thing. I had to go to the MP office, which was also weird because it was not just run by MPs, it was run by the Italians. Anyway, the Defense Department normally I already read that. So getting early start on transitioning can be especially important for service members. Many veterans leave their first civilian job after the military within 1 year. True. And many underestimate how challenging the transition to the military workforce can be. Also true.
I'll say this right now. I get this question all the time while I'm live. So for anyone still here listening, if you're getting out of the military within the next year, there are things that you can do on your own that you do not need fucking permission from your command to do. Set up your GI Bill. Go on the VA's website. Type in GI Bill. You can find the link pretty easily on there, on that website. Set that up. Look for any schools, colleges, whatever you're going to school for that you need to use your GI Bill for. Look those up. Figure out when they do enrollments, right? Plan accordingly upon your EAS date to get into the school then and have everything set up with them so that way you can just seamlessly go right into school and get that money and set up your disability. You can go through the VA and like put in claims and everything like that. And you can annotate, I am active, getting out, and everything like that. And they'll set up appointments for you. Obviously, there you need to tell your command, hey, I have a fucking appointment. But generally, when you say, hey, I have a medical appointment, they're not going to fucking say no. You just tell them that and then fucking go do your little appointment.
Also, it's on you to fucking do this because no one's going to tell you to do it.
Yeah. But do it a year out.
Do it a year out, yes. And take the initiative yourself to do it because, like I said, there is not a single person that's going to tell you to do this stuff. Like you're used to being told to do things. These are things that you actively have to go and look for yourself, unless you have a buddy that knows this and is just going to tell it to you to kind of, get you set up. I tried doing this. I didn't do it for the school part, but I tried doing it for the disability part. Unfortunately for me, I couldn't do the fucking claims thing for the VA disability thing because the representative for the VA was no longer there on base. They were just gone. They said, you can do it when you get out. And I waited way too long to do it. I literally waited 4 fucking years before I did it. I got out of active duty in 2016. I didn't start doing it until 2021.
That's something too. So there is a kind of a time limit in a way with the VA for your disability. If you don't claim generally within that first year of you getting out, you will then have to provide extra pieces of information for them to make it service connected. And for that, I had a buddy reach out to me like a couple of years ago. He's like, hey man, I waited too long. I'm past the year mark, but the VA needs letters from people that I served with. So I had to type up a little fucking paragraph saying like, hey, all of his things are true. I was with him and made up a date on this date. He fell and hurt his back, whatever the fuck. Like character witnesses. So if you do it within that first year, like before you get out, you will not have to worry about any of that bullshit because they're like, oh, okay, cool.
Unless you're like me and you wait too fucking long, and now I do need buddy letters. And getting a hold of your buddies to do the buddy letters is kind of a pain in the ass sometimes because my best friend, I love him to death. I've asked him 4 times to do buddy letters. So yeah, I got you, and then I'm still waiting for it. So
yeah,
but Tony will help me. He granted he was only with me in airborne school, but he said he'll help me like talk about issues from that. But yeah, get that shit rolling and take the initiative on it. Our last topic.
And if you're unfortunate enough, sometimes it'll take like 6 fucking months to a year for your disability to go through. So that's why we're saying start it a year out because it can take that long. You might get lucky and it gets solved in 2 months, but it could take forever. Do it while you're still getting income from the DOD.
Yes.
So, all right. That's it.
So our last topic, honey, get me, then she caught me red-handed, creeping with the girl next door. Picture this, we were both butt naked, banging on the bathroom floor. How could I forget that? Anyway, rapper Shaggy got his distinctive voice from making fun of his Marine Corps drill instructors. So one might think that making fun of a drill instructor would lead to severely shortened lifespan. Now, at the end of every boot camp or basic training, they let the recruits make fun of the drill instructors and drill sergeants. It's kind of like, I don't know about the Marine Corps, but in the Army, they definitely let you do that.
Yeah, they let us do that.
Because it's funny. It's entertaining. And honestly, the drill sergeants and the drill instructors fucking love it. Because it's funny. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. They had to fucking put on a mask and an act for a couple months. Now they're like, come on, do it. Get back at me. I know you want to. And the whole fucking, what'd you get away with? Like, you're safe here. What the fuck did you get away with? We need to know.
Well, because
they did that shit too.
Because not only did they do that shit too, but it makes for good stories. Because it's just like you get a fucking recruit that's like some of the fucking funniest shit. Like you hear some fucking wild shit from the drill sergeants and drill instructors. I apparently had a recruit do this or this. It's fun for them. That's why they do it. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to get hemmed up for this. Anyway, but for reggae rapper, songwriter, and Marine Corps artilleryman Shaggy, it led to a career in the music industry. Long before he ever considered joining the Marines, Shaggy was a young kid being raised by his grandmother in Jamaica who had eclectic musical tastes. Listening to the radio, playing her records was young Shaggy's earliest forays into his love for music. And it was during a performance by Jamaican dancehall DJ King Yellowman that he decided he would become a performer himself. When he finally broke into the music industry, Carolina, at 25 years old in 1993, Shaggy had developed a signature voice and style, one he perfected not from his records and dance hall performances, but while serving in the Marine Corps, as he recalled in a recent video posted in social media juggernaut TikTok.
Shaggy has a fucking TikTok? What?
I'm sure it's Shaggy, dude. Every fucking musician or celebrity has a TikTok. I want to hear this, though.
Getting older.
Yeah. But I got this voice by mocking drill instructors in the military. Because in the Marines, the drill instructors would go, "Hey, boy, drop and give it 20. Let's go, boy." And I would mock them as a form of joking. Because it motivated, your platoon. I just sang that song in that voice. Because, it sounded cool. And all of a sudden, Carolina blew up, and now I'm faced with a situation that I'm going to have to sing every song like that. If you listen to songs like Big Up or Mumpy, those songs are sung in a different voice than Carolina. Girl, if you fall down, you're above expense. It's a different tone. It is not the same tone as I would on, Carolina.
Some of the classes that I
Thanks, Shaggy. So he said, I just sang that song in the voice because it sounded cool, and all of a sudden, Carolina blew up, and now I'm faced with the situation. Yeah. So Shaggy moved to New York City to live with his mother in 1986 at just 18 years old, and was there when he began his music career. His song Big Up hit #1 in the New York reggae charts, but he was still unknown in the wider music world. In 1988, he joined the United States Marine Corps and the 5th Battalion, 10th Marine Regiment, as a way to get out of New York. You like that?
I did. I enjoyed that.
Hey, listen, when I was in military school, we had fucking Marine Corps drill instructors for teachers and and faculty of the school. So, and I'm talking killers. Like, I had a guy, and I know we're sidebarring here. I had a teacher who was not only the instructor for the ROTC program that they had there, but he was also like an instructor for other like courses. They had their it was like a ranger thing that they had going on. I can't remember the name of it, but this guy was formerly a ranger from Ranger Bat, and he was in Mogadishu during Black Hawk Down. So yeah, he was part of Ranger Bat, and he was in Mogadishu. So
that's
wild. When I tell you, and then like our faculty, because each company we had Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Fox, and Golf. Each company was run by what we called a TAC officer, and the TAC officer was either currently active or formerly military. So Bravo company had a drill sergeant, a real drill sergeant, and that guy, he was an E5. He was a drill sergeant on and off. He deployed a few times, and then he retired from that school as a teacher because he ended up being a reservist. Alpha Company, which is the one I was in, we had fucking Sergeant Stevens. He was a big man, powerful voice. This guy was a former Ranger, and he was in the Bosnian Serbian War. When we had troops over there and we had troops in Grenada, he was in those. And this dude he was a Ranger during all that shit. He was missing a finger and shit. Big scary motherfucking guy. Super soft spoken when he was nice. When he's being nice, he kind of talked like this southern guy, but he was like 6'5", had these big fucking bottle glasses. But he was a scary fucking dude. When he yelled at you, it was crazy. But we had teachers like that, and then we had like our commandant. We had an actual commandant who was a fucking first sergeant from the Marine Corps. And so like whenever we would get yelled at, it was like the fucking like shit like that. So it was very, very Marine Corps heavy in there. Anyway, I digressed. So in 98, he joined the Marine Corps' 5th Battalion, 10th Marine Ranger Regiment, 10th Marine Regiment, as a way to get out of New York's Flatbush neighborhood, and found some stability like many service members. His enlistment led to a deployment. In 1990, he was sent to the Persian Gulf to support operations of Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Shaggy would leave the Marine Corps as a lance corporal after being demoted twice for unauthorized absences. He kept leaving his duty station to work on his music career in New York. The Marines were a good setup for everything I was about to encounter in life that I didn't, Shaggy told Billboard's web series Growing Up. He had no idea how right he was. Drill instructors used to put these voices on, and I just listened to music. I just used to mimic them because they would call me out to sing cadences. Little did I know that it was actually vocal training because I was singing from my gut and running 3 miles. And yes, like singing cadences while running is a good way to practice your actual singing vocals. Getting loud and proud and motivated. It was this impromptu vocal training that would lead to 17 studio albums, 11 top 10 singles, and 40 million albums sold. After Oh Carolina became bombastic, and in the summertime, his 2000 debut album Hot Shot, which included hit songs It Wasn't Me, Love Me, and Angel, went diamond. At least 10 million sales worldwide and platinum 6 times in the United States. King Yellowman, a dance hall DJ who inspired his music career, is now a close friend. Shaggy doesn't attribute his distinctive singing voice to his time in the Marine Corps, but his work ethic as well. The military prepared me for that, so I would get up really early in the morning. I would work really, really late, and it's that kind of discipline, he recalled in a 2020 interview. People say you go to the military to learn to fire a gun. I went to the military to learn to balance my checkbook. That's what it taught me to do. However, most people that get out of the military are fucking broke because they don't teach you how to really do that.
Hey,
same.
How you doing?
Big same. Over here, Mister, I spent 80 grand in like a couple of months because I'm a moron. Yeah, that one was. That one fucking stings when I think about it, dude. I'm not gonna lie. But what can I do?
Hey, you learned.
You learned. Yeah, Shaggy. It's funny. You find out what celebrities were, former service members like Rob Riggle, the comedian. Marine Corps, the fucking lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. Funny as fuck.
And deployed a lot. He went to Afghanistan, went to Iraq. Like, and on top of that, I saw an interview he was doing. When he left active duty, he went to the reserves. And in his off time, when he wasn't on duty, he was on the road for comedy.
Yeah.
So he was doing the road and then going and fucking being a commander and then going back on the road. And then he would do deployments, take breaks from the road. Like essentially his acting, and also he was getting into acting. So he was doing auditions and shit while on his off time and still being a fucking high ranking officer in the Marines, in the Marine Reserves, which is pretty crazy.
It's awesome.
I think it's awesome.
You can essentially do a lot for yourself while in. It's just you're pulling a lot more hours.
Oh yeah, it does require a level of work ethic and discipline that a lot of people just don't have. But the people that do have it, they fucking have it. Like, and it's funny because even my teachers are like, you getting this far is probably because of the tenacity you learned from the military. I'm like, kinda. Like my desire to not fail, for one. Yeah, definitely comes from that. Like, I don't quit. I don't fail. I don't want to. I'm okay with failing, but I'm not okay with quitting. Yeah, it's the same thing with this podcast. Like if it takes off, it takes off. If not, I'm not too worried about it. But I'm still gonna fucking do it. And even like Oakley and them were like saying that like, because I can't really talk about this part yet. I'll tell you offline. But anyway, there are things going to be happening for me in regiment. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I've been able to do shit like this while also being in school. So, but anyway, so that was it. Actually, it for all of our topics today. So
I'll do it. I'm glad we ended on Shaggy. I love Shaggy. Ever since I learned that he was a Marine, I'm like, man, that makes him. He was already cool because I already loved his music, but now I'm like, fuck yeah.
And same with Adam Driver, the actor that played Kylo Ren in Star Wars. When I found out he was a Marine, I was just like, fuck yeah. And it's funny because you kind of see his Marine side peek out a lot. And like the awards shows and shit. He was at the Oscars and someone made a fucking wildly inappropriate joke that no one was laughing at. They panned to him. He's the only one laughing.
He's dying. I remember seeing that. He's just like, and everyone's offended, and he's like, "That's funny as fuck."
Yeah, I think it had some. I think it was like Ricky Gervais or something. Someone was like calling everybody in Hollywood pedophiles, and then like everyone's just like, and then like Adam Driver's just laughing his ass off because he's like he's in on the joke, and because he's a Marine, he's like dark humor makes the fucking world go round here in the military. We are filled to the brim with that.
Have you heard his like story of his time in?
No.
He actually was medsept because he like right before his unit was supposed to go to Iraq or something, because I think he was a mortarman. He like crashed his bicycle, like going mountain biking or something like that. He was doing something. Can't remember exactly, but he hurt himself real bad and he couldn't go on the deployment and got medsept. And he was like talking about it, I think, for a TED talk or something. And he was like, dude, that is like the biggest regret that I have in my fucking life is going and doing that and getting myself hurt. And all my buddies had to go and I fucking stayed back. He's like, dude, I feel like a pussy every day because of it.
I've actually have heard him say that, how like his biggest regret is that he didn't get to deploy because he got hurt and then he got separated out because of that. I remember seeing that interview where it's like that bothers him to this day. And I get it. I get it.
Yeah, me too.
If it didn't happen for you, it didn't happen, but like it's still like it's the thing that you signed up to do, especially when you're a mortarman. You know he didn't pick combat arms to not go to combat.
Yeah.
That's how all combat arms feels. Like I didn't pick the combat arms job that I have to not fucking go to combat.
Yep.
And it sucks, but you know there's really nothing you can do about it.
That's one of those things too. And since, you know, we did that little bit of advice with getting out, here's another thing, because I know a lot of people that might listen to this are active and in combat arms and will never see it. That is something that, hopefully that's something that you will learn eventually, that it is okay to have not seen it. It's nothing that you did fucking wrong. It's just your number didn't get called, and that's all that fucking happened. Because I'd be a liar if I said I didn't.
Unless you were actively trying to avoid it. Like did I tell you about the guy that was in my guard unit that was in the he was 17 years in the Army, never deployed.
That's crazy.
And he was, because granted he was National Guard, but the units were deploying. In fact, one of our units was in Afghanistan and he wasn't. And it was because what he would do, he even told me, why would you want to go? Like, why would I not? I didn't pick this job to not fucking go. He's like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to go over there? Like, what do you mean? Why would I not want to go over there? Why would I want to go over there? Because what he was talking, because every time a deployment was even mentioned, he would transfer units. He would go to another unit. This guy was, it's funny because this guy was Wisconsin National Guard, lived in California. So every month he flew to Wisconsin for drill because he was in the middle of transferring to the California National Guard. And his paperwork sat in limbo during the previous deployment. And when they got back, there was talk about another one. And he was just limboing his paperwork because the California Guard unit that he was going to was deployed. This one was getting back, and he was like waiting for them to get back, and then he was gonna fucking file it, leave. For 17 years, this dude did this, and he was an idiot. The dude was an absolute idiot, and
he's somebody you don't even want to go anyway.
No, absolutely not. He's the kind of guy that would he would deploy and fucking piss his pants immediately in the first pop sound, and it would just be a can of biscuits breaking open, and And there was the other part. He was a combat arms MOS. I'm like, why did you pick this job if you didn't want to go? Like, why? Because that's all of us lower enlisted. Me as an E5 and the E4s and shit. We were all talking about how, God, I wish I could have gone. And he was just like, why? I mean, like, what do you mean why? Why would you want to go? I'm like, because
that's what I signed up to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you never, I even asked him, like, you never even left the country? He's like, no. Like, you didn't go to Europe. You didn't do nothing. No deployments. You didn't go overseas whatsoever. No. In 17 years in the Army, not once did he ever go overseas.
That's wild.
And that dude is a coward. That is a coward.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't get to go doesn't make you a coward. But if you actively try to get away from it, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah. Get out. Leave.
Just get out.
Smoke some weed. Get the fuck out.
Do something.
Like,
we had a guy.
I mean, shit. I saw people do that. Like, we had talks of fucking. We had talks of Afghanistan or Syria, and I watched people go smoke right before a piss test to get kicked out, so they wouldn't have to go. And then we didn't even go. We went to fucking Italy.
I know.
And it's like, dude.
We had a guy, when I was active duty, we had a guy that was on rear detachment when I got there because my unit was in Afghanistan. He skipped out on that deployment because he said he was going to kill himself if he deployed. And nobody wanted anything to do with this kid because of it. Because he did it twice. Before they were leaving, he said he was going to commit suicide. So they obviously like pulled him. You're not deploying. After they left, he regretted it. And he's like, I'm good to go, blah, 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 blah. They started his paperwork to go. I'm going to kill myself if I go. And they're like, all right. And so they kicked him out.
Yeah. Because obviously he's just pulling everyone's leg and just being dead weight at that point.
Yeah. So, and they eventually separated him. And I remember this kid. I remember looking at him and I'm like, you ain't cut for this. Not at all.
Yeah.
Like you can just, how you can look at someone and just be like, you are not made for this. If you wanted to be in the Army, pick a different job. But
and that's something too about all that shit. Like nowadays, it's not like it's fucking, Vietnam, World War II out here, right? You can go up to your command and be like, I don't want to go. And obviously they're gonna be like, no, you're going, fuck you. But if you are adamant enough about it and you're like, I'm not fucking going, they'll just be like, okay, well, we don't want you here. And they'll pull you out. And like you said, they'll either kick you out or they'll move you to some other fucking unit where you'll waste away until your contract's up. Like,
yeah. My whole thing, it got to a point where I no longer wanted to go. And it wasn't because of it wasn't Afghanistan. It was like when the whole thing with Syria was happening, they get back from Afghanistan, we're not deploying anymore. So we're like, fuck. I was all motivated to go at that time. And that wind got pulled out of my sails for that. Then Syria, where we actually got staged to deploy to Syria, and it didn't happen. And then we had Russia. That was the one I was like, I don't know if I want to fucking do that, because they told us that we were the only unit going to. I'm like, I'll fight the Taliban all day. I don't want to fucking fight people with like actual planes and tanks. I don't want to fight someone.
You're like,
I don't want to fair
You're like,
fight.
we haven't seen a conventional war in ages. I don't want to relearn this.
Well, not only that, it was like there's a lot of factors, and it was like my chain of command, the new chain of command. I didn't trust them anymore. Like I did not trust these guys to deploy this. One, we had one fucking senior NCO that like always talked about how many guys he lost, and I'm like, cool. I don't want to go with you. I don't want to be another name added to your command, added to your fucking list of guys on your command that you lost. And another reason why is because the way they were fucking people over, I just didn't trust them. I knew if we got into if World War III cracked off while we were in Ukraine, and I was under those guys, under that battalion command, it was gonna be bad for all of us. Because they would throw us under the bus. They would fucking make us do shit that they wouldn't do. The whole point of being like in leadership is you would not make your guys do something you wouldn't do yourself. But these guys were often making us do things that they wouldn't do themselves, which was ironic because they were all from Ranger Battalion, right? So they were the ones that were like constantly making us do stupid shit at the cost of us, to where it was just like. And they clearly didn't care. They were just using us as fodder for any kind of training exercise they want to do to make themselves look good. And I didn't want to fucking go to war with that at all, especially if it was World War III. Fuck no. Fuck no. And then even even leaders like the E7s and stuff that were getting out saw this too. And I had a platoon sergeant even saying, like, I don't want to deploy with these fucking idiots.
Mm-hmm.
So they got out. So there was that part of it too. And I was like, I don't want my first war to be World War III. Even though I went to Ukraine, so it didn't really matter. I was there. If it happened, it happened, but it wasn't. But I knew that if we were there, we were the speed bump of the war. We weren't gonna be. We weren't a true fighting force. We weren't equipped for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, I guess we can wrap this up now, eh?
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, we'll love and appreciate y'all. And if you got to the end of this, leave a comment. Say asparagus in the comments if you made it to the end.
I like it.
I like it because ain't nobody said anything in the comments from the last episode. But then again, it's only been a day. So if you made it to this point, comment asparagus. Show us that you were here.
I like it.
So anyway, love you guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming to the party. We'll see you at the next party. Love you. Bye.
Goodbye.